Welcome to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast, where it's all about educating and motivating creative pros and entrepreneurs from around the world with simple and easy to implement ideas. And of course, helping you create something awesome today. And now, welcome your host. He is the founder of Awesome Creator Academy, a YouTube educator, and the biggest Star Wars nerd you'll ever meet, Roberto Blake.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast. This is your host, Roberto Blake, helping you create something awesome today. We are at day 8 out of 8 of doing the podcast every day for the rest of 2021. That's amazing. Consistency for the win. Hope everyone's doing great. This is another late night edition, another midnight run of the podcast. And today we're talking about a topic I'm not super enthusiastic about, but is absolutely necessary. We're going to be talking about the WhatsApp scam comments and spam in YouTube and how it's ruining the YouTube platform, as well as other social media, including Instagram and Twitter. It's become a real problem. This is a huge problem where a lot of people, and this podcast episode kind of serves as a PSA. It serves as a public service announcement to kind of help warn the community about what's happening so that any of you who are content creators, you can protect your audience. Any of you who are audience members, especially if you're audience members of me, can realize that these are scams and how to avoid them. So if everyone could do me a favor, share the replay of this podcast episode. And if you are in the live viewing audience, go ahead and feel free to go ahead and share this out anywhere and everywhere that you can, because that would actually help out quite a lot. And it would really make it so that more people can be aware of what's going on here, because I really don't think, I think that one of the biggest issues is that people just don't know what they don't know. And they don't realize that this problem with the scams is happening. So maybe I can try and show you and tell you what's going on. Now, it's possible that I may already have blocked the scam comments on some of my latest videos, but I'll check and see if I can find any so I can give you an example and share that on my screen if you're watching the video version of the podcast. Because yeah, this is just something that's really frustrating. It's really disheartening because there are people in my community who have said that they've almost fallen for this, or that they did outright fall for some of these crypto scams, and it's actually really annoying. It's really irritating. But essentially, what is happening is that in the comment section of a YouTube channel, they will comment and they will pretend to be the YouTuber. And this is how sophisticated it is. It's so sophisticated that they will literally copy the YouTuber's profile picture. I've changed my profile picture more than once, and they'll even update and change it to kind of match whatever I have at the time. And they will also impersonate the YouTuber's name. And so when someone is in the comments, they get excited because they think that their favorite YouTuber or whoever they're watching replied to and acknowledge their comment and then is reaching out to them. And what they'll do is they'll try and get these people into scams. And they'll do this on your YouTube videos. They'll do this on your community tab. And it's just relentless. And they're using bot accounts largely to do this, which means that it's very difficult to deal with this, even from YouTube's side. Now, here's the thing. YouTube has tried, and this I can show you. YouTube tries, and this is they're trying. They can't necessarily stop the bots themselves all the time or the spam, but they're trying to make it easier for content creators and viewers to kind of know what's going on. And by that I mean YouTube is trying to make it so that you know when it's the YouTuber replying to the comment. So when you go to YouTube, I'm just trying to make the screen a little bit bigger here. You go to YouTube and if it says, I'm not even logged into my Roberto Blake account, I'm logged into the podcast account. But there's a couple of things. For one thing, on my YouTube channel, I'm verified. So if you go to the comments here, I'm verified. And what it does when I'm verified is that it has a gray bubble around my name and a white check mark. So if you don't see that, it's not me. It's not me. The other thing it does is typically it'll say reply from Roberto Blake and others. So that means that if the reply is from me, it will say so, like view reply from Roberto Blake. So it's trying to help. YouTube is trying to help people to understand when the actual creator is replying to a comment and engaging with the audience. But most viewers on YouTube don't bother to become educated about this, and they just scan. I can't blame them as much, but people get really excited and think that they're talking to a YouTuber. And so, everybody wants that. And so it's easy for people to get scammed and to get duped into this kind of thing because they just get excited and they think that a YouTuber is responding to them. And then because people trust YouTubers or their favorite YouTubers, what happens is a lot of people, will go ahead and they'll fall for like a scam because they'll be sitting there thinking that they're messaging a YouTuber on WhatsApp. Let me just give all of you a piece of what should be, mind you, common sense advice. A YouTuber is not going to give you their phone number. The end. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But in all seriousness, no. A YouTuber, especially an established YouTuber, is not going to give you their phone number, not going to talk to you on WhatsApp. They're not going to sit there text messaging with you in WhatsApp. There are YouTubers who have phone messaging communities. They're not using WhatsApp, and they're not going to post their number in the comments for you. If the YouTuber was going to give you any type of phone number to contact them, it would be in the description of their video, or it would be the pinned comment on their video. It's not going to be a personal reply while also public. And think about this, common sense. If a YouTuber put their phone number out there, don't you think that a lot of people are going to be bombarding them and asking them for free stuff? Aren't they going to be asking them for free phones or laptops or to send them money or telling them their sob story and trying to scam them out of money or make them, do something for them? Like real talk. Why would a YouTuber, especially a big YouTuber, if security concern, why would a YouTuber be giving you their phone number or giving you their WhatsApp number? Let's think about that for a second. If a YouTuber is not promoting that they're they don't have a text messaging community, which is usually not going to be WhatsApp, it's going to be something else. Why would that big YouTuber, why would that established content, why would they be giving you or anyone or giving the public a phone number to reach, be really negative or to dunk on people? And I understand that there are vulnerable people out there, but how the hell are people falling for this? Because it makes no reasonable sense that a public figure is going to put their phone number out there and is going to be excited for you to text message them, because it's not going to be just you. It's going to be 80, 90, 150 people bothering them every day in the middle of everything. And then it's also going to be people trying to use that to find out where they live. There's no reasonable scenario where a YouTuber will give you their real phone number or give you their WhatsApp number if you don't have a personal existing relationship with them. That's how it is. I know that everyone likes to feel that they're close to their favorite creators. I know that people would like to think that, the YouTubers are their friends. These are people on the internet that are strangers to you. And they might be part of your community or a shared community. They might be grateful. They might appreciate you. But as it stands, they are not your personal, intimate friends. You do not have an actual relationship with a lot of these people unless you've met them in real life. The parasocial relationship, the disconnect, especially with younger people today, the disconnect between reality and their experiences in the digital space is getting to a point of being very dangerous for a lot of reasons, and it's making them vulnerable and susceptible to scams. whether that's WhatsApp scams like this or very stupid rug pulls where you have no business investing money affiliated with somebody with a dubious reputation that's constantly in drama, constantly in scandals, or is proven to be less than trustworthy just because you think they're funny on the internet or you like their content. And I'm not calling anyone out or naming names and everything like that. We have a wonderful channel called CoffeeZilla who does that for us. So you could go and check out CoffeeZilla's content and you can see a lot of these crypto scams and rug pulls and a lot of these schemes that end up being people taking advantage of their audience. But the problem that I'm seeing is the impersonation. I've had multiple impersonation accounts on Instagram. Even actual personal friends of mine have told me that they've gotten messages on Instagram or seen people impersonating me, and it's insane. And the thing is, with me and Instagram, there's a couple of things. One, like I'm actually a public figure, and I've been verified in Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that I'm somebody that gets impersonated and would be impersonated because of my size in YouTube and because of my situation. And I'm verified in multiple other platforms. Instagram still refuses to verify me, and it's been proven to them that I've been impersonated over a dozen times, and they've had to take down and ban accounts for impersonating me a dozen times. Still not enough for them to give me a check mark that would at least help protect a few people from knowing that, hey, that's not the real Roberto Blake. And their criteria for it, it's like, I don't know what else I have to do besides, like, what do I have to do? Buy press, get the Wikipedia article spun up? What do I have to do? Buy press and get a Wikipedia article spread up? Because it seems like that's the only way to get verified in Instagram these days. That, or you have to be mega viral, or you have to get, like, I know people with 100,000 Instagram followers that can't get verified. Like, I don't know what black magic, what sorcery, what demon from the deep you have to summon to get a blue check mark in Instagram. And the thing is, it's not a vanity project. In a lot of cases, the problem is not just verifying people who can confirm their real identity, that can present an ID, and that can show, hey, I've been impersonated. You should just allow people to do that. Facebook has less of a problem with it. Facebook's the easiest one to get verified in. Because if it's really just creating a problem with these platforms in terms of people getting scammed. And so it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And there have been situations like Board Fan is saying, there have been situations where the scam accounts get reported. It's the actual YouTuber that gets hurt. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And these platforms don't have enough people staffed in terms of their exclusively for their cybersecurity teams. The platforms don't have large, robust cybersecurity teams. I don't know if most people realize that. So we need something done about this, frankly. We really do. And there's also problems with false reports and mass reporting. There are legitimate creators being taken down in TikTok on a regular basis, even large creators, because TikTok's reporting system doesn't acknowledge or recognize this problem with it. The same thing, I think, happens on occasion on Twitch and YouTube. And it's this ridiculous problem of people not using the platforms and using the tools in good faith. We have bad actors and people who don't use these tools in good faith. This is why I know people don't agree with me on this, but here's the thing. I just believe that almost all the tools in all these systems are being weaponized. Dislikes, weaponized. False copyright claims being weaponized. And you see that. False reporting and false flag being abused and being weaponized. And this is across platforms. So, I mean, I see a greater problem. I know people are mad about YouTube removing dislikes, but I believe that there's so many people, and you want to look at the comments with the spam comments, you want to look at the mass reporting issues on YouTube and TikTok and all these things. I just believe that most of these features are not being used in good faith. The copyright thing is probably being abused almost the most flagrantly on YouTube right now by companies. Like people say, oh, this like taking away dislikes silences criticism. No, y'all, the biggest tool and weapon in silence and criticism of companies is copyright claims that are not legitimate copyright claims. The abuse of the copyright system is the single greatest weapon in silencing criticism. And I think most people agree with me and understand that that's the biggest, like dislikes are nothing. Dislikes mean nothing. Companies don't care about that. They weaponize the copyright system. They weaponize the copyright system. That's what ends up ultimately being abused by the companies. So I don't like the ratios. No, I'm not interested. The dislike button still exists. The ratios being public. No, that's not anything. That means nothing. The thing that's used in bad faith disproportionately is the copyright claim system and the false reporting system. And something needs to be done about it. Like something absolutely needs to be done about it. We had a content creator have 150 bad faith copyright claims. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And it's a real problem. Public dislikes doesn't bother me because I don't believe that affects corporations. I've never believed it. Like voting barely affects corporations. I don't believe that. What I do believe in terms of worrying about silence and criticism is the abusive copyright claim system and the copyright strikes that could cause a channel to be deleted. And so that's the thing that I think is the most serious and egregious part of this thing, because it can straight up get videos taken down and it can straight up get channels taken down. And then added to that, we have, among a host of other problems, we have all these spam comments. And the thing is, we need more tools as creators to deal with these spam comments and to not just be able to block or ban them from our channel, but to retroactively remove all of their previous comments. And we need the ability to multi-select and multi-delete comments. We need the ability to do that. We absolutely need the ability to do that. I also think that copyright strikes should never result in channel deletion, honestly. I think that copyright strikes maybe can suspend a channel's upload privileges at worst. I think that that's what it should do. I do not believe that copyright strikes should result in channel deletion. I don't think that policy needs to exist anymore. I think that individual videos being blocked from viewership is enough. I think that even a temporary penalty on uploads is enough. Deleting a channel, hell no. Take that out of there. I don't think that is appropriate at this point in time. So yeah. So again, the thing that I'm most concerned about is how these systems are weaponized and how they're abused, and the sheer volume of people who use platform tools in bad faith is staggering. And so when YouTube says stuff like that, they have evidence of these tools not being used for their intended purpose, these tools not being used properly. When they say that that's happening, I believe them. When they say that that's happening, I believe it. I believe it 100%. I believe it. And I've seen it on small YouTube channels. I've seen small YouTube channels get degraded, get disliked. I've seen it happen on Twitch. I've seen the false reporting stuff on TikTok. I believe that in these social media platforms that there is a very bad side of the culture of toxic people that harass creators. And I think that small creators get it the worst. I think the reason that big YouTubers don't agree with me on a lot of this is because in many cases it doesn't affect them, because people just won't go to war with them, and people, like, anything they do, like, nothing would impact them. Their fan base overcomes it, and so on and so forth. And I think a lot of them have gotten out of touch. And I think a lot of people have forgotten what it's like to be a small YouTuber and not to have resources, or not to be able to go and complain to YouTube and feel like you're going to be heard. And I spend most of my time with creators who are smaller than me, not the ones that are bigger than me, that I could be spending that time with. But a lot of big YouTubers, largely, collectively, their circle is other people in their niche relative to their size, and so on and so forth. So for me, I listen to the smaller creators in the community and what they feel like they're going through. And so that's where I end up paying a lot more attention to how this issue affects a small creator versus the opinion about it from a bigger creator. Because I already have the larger creator perspective. I am one. I may not be a mega creator with millions, but like at 500,000, I kind of already know how a big creator is going to think and feel on that issue if they're only thinking about how it impacts them. So from a smaller channel perspective, that's that's a point where it becomes important to listen to the community and to just take a step back and like look at it from another perspective and listen to people who have a different experience and have a different situation who are not going to be heard by the platform. As a larger creator, I could reach out to certain people at YouTube, or I can tweet about something and they'll pay attention. But if I were like at 2,000 subscribers and that was it, maybe not. Probably not. They try, but there's so many creators that it's very hard to manage a community, a constituency of this size, and balance everybody's interest. And a lot of people, they constantly talk about YouTube protecting the advertisers. I know advertisers. Hell, I am an advertiser. I can tell you advertisers aren't always happy with YouTube either. They're largely unhappy with YouTube even now. So if you think that advertisers are being appeased, talk to some of them. They ain't very happy. They haven't been happy in a while. Like, everyone makes a lot of assumptions. Advertisers, if you talk to them, they think that creators are happy and that YouTube you talk to advertisers think YouTube puts creators first. Talk to YouTube, they have a different view on things. You talk to content creators, they think the advertisers get first. Advertisers think it's the creators. Everybody always thinks they have it worse. Can't please everybody. Everybody always thinks they have it worse. Nick Nimmin, what's up, Nick? If you want to get in on this, if you would like to come in on the podcast today, please feel free to hit me up and I will get you the link, my friend. Glad to have Nick Nimmin in the audience. But yeah, we have massive problems on the platform. And the thing is, I think we need to protect creators, and I think we need to protect users. I think we need to protect advertisers. I think we need to protect everybody. And I think that part of that is if you give creators more tools, we can do a lot. If you give creators more tools, we can do a lot. If you give advertisers more tools and clarity and more understanding of creators and teach them more about the creator side of things, then we can do a lot. We can do a lot if everybody has the tools and resources to pitch in here. And I think that with some of the tools that are coming out for moderations for live streams, I feel like some of the tools that are coming out, when it comes to even just managing your YouTube channel, I feel like some of those things are going to help, but I think it's going to take time. And I think that the best thing they could do, in my opinion, is just give creators some more tools. That's what I truly think. I truly think that the best thing that they could do is if they gave creators more tools, there's a lot we could do on our own. Because we're probably the best people to handle our community at the end of the day. And so I think that giving us things like retroactively being able to delete like all comments from a previous user would be very good. I know that some people worry about that because of criticism, but I think the scams and the spam is a bigger threat and a bigger concern than silencing criticism. I think we need to worry more about the scams on that particular side with this particular thing, just because of how it's been abused and the fact that it's gonna like cost people like real money and stuff. So like, I don't know how people feel about that, but that's where I've gotten to on that one. Now, in general, like I don't think that scams themselves exist as a justification to just make any and all changes to YouTube. I think you have to be very careful with that. And I think that like even when we had dislike counters being public, people were still getting scammed left and right. And again, one of the biggest issues is this comment spam feature of people trying to use WhatsApp and then grift people's audiences and impersonate them. I think something that could help with that specifically is because like I have a plugin where and I believe that it's because of vidIQ or TubeBuddy. It's one of them. Because I have that, I can see how many subscribers someone has when it comments. I think that YouTube should just make that the default. I think that YouTube should make it the default that all comments show the subscriber count of the person commenting. And instead of putting it in gray, maybe put a blue bubble around it when it's the content creator that owns the channel. And I think that blue, making it a blue bubble instead of neutral gray, makes it absolutely clear and visible that, hey, this is the content creator. I think the only reason that they haven't done that, and I think one of the things is, I think they're trying to make like verification and things like that not feel special, or try to not say, hey, people are better than you. I think that that's a mistake. I think that you aren't protecting people when you go that route. I think it needs to be very visible and very obvious that someone is a verified creator, a verified channel, or that they're the channel owner. I think it needs to be obvious that when the channel or owner is communicating, that you cannot mistake the channel owner from somebody else. So I think that that's the thing that needs to happen, because then it's like, oh, this thing doesn't look like that. And so then all of a sudden, it's very difficult, if not impossible, for people to impersonate you, because it becomes super obvious. At that point, it's just kind of stupid or silly if somebody falls for it at that point. You have to make it visually as obvious as possible. And the thing is, yeah, stop downplaying verification. And also, yeah, stop making verification a clout symbol. I know that the culture is going to do that. Screw it. So what? Like, I think that all these platforms, you stop worrying about people being overly sensitive about feeling less than, but also at the same time, just go to some type of ID verification for people willing to put their ID in the system and say, okay, you wanted to confirm your identity. You're going to tie yourself and your real identity to your platform and be held accountable. Cool. We're going to give you a check mark. Just give a check mark to everybody who gives up their government ID. Just give a check mark to everybody who, it's not an endorsement. It's not a, we support what you're doing. It's that, hey, this person is who they say they are. That's it. And if the culture wants to take as endorsement, it's like, screw them. Your stock price isn't going to go down. A lot of these companies need to just stop being cowards about these things. And it's like, your stock price isn't going to go down because if like the people who are worried about and making noise because they think that you're endorsing someone's point of view that's problematic and everything like that, it's like, screw them. They're not your shareholders. I'm your shareholder. I'll buy your stock. Majid Art says scammer might figure out how to replicate that symbol or banner. No, they literally can't, because of the way that it you do it in code and the way that it becomes part of the style of how stuff is conveyed and displayed. No, they can't necessarily do that. They can't necessarily do that. Especially if you make it like the background color around the channel owner's name, then they can't do that. Because right now with YouTube, they make it gray. If they just make it blue, then it's visually something that they can't replicate. And I want them to bring back, yeah, Chantel Hills. That would be a nice feature for those of us under 100K. I think that they should do it as blue when it's the channel owner. And then they can add the check mark for people who are verified. Hey, what's up, Pat? That way you always know when you're in communication with the channel owner. And then so that puts us in the best position where people can be protected and know that they're interacting with the channel owner on YouTube specifically. And so that's what I think would probably do the most as far as a solution. I'm going to definitely suggest that to people at YouTube, that they do something like that. And that's really a style change, but it's also, they need to implement it for all channels, not just verified channels. If they want to start with verified channels to see if it's easier and if it works, fine. But they just need to do it for all channels. That way you always know that you're interacting with the channel owner. I think between that and then maybe if you do something where it shows, if you do have your subscriber count public, it shows the number of subscribers that everybody commenting has. I know that the problem with that is it'll make people feel less than, or it make people feel like someone else has more status than them. Get over it. Get over it. Cry more. Like, you got to go there. You have to go there, because this is what will enforce in the platform a lot more transparency and a way for people to know what's happening and to know whether they're interacting legitimately with the creator that they think they're interacting with, and a way to not necessarily fake the impersonation nearly as easily. If they want to not do the subscriber number next to the thing, that's fine, but then you have to at least put a color coding for somebody that's the channel owner, and then maybe another color coding for anyone who's a channel moderator of the channel. And then that ends up protecting the community and gives the creators the tools to protect their community. And then I think they should, frankly, I think that they should open verification to smaller channels. I think that they should allow and give verification check marks to any channel over 10,000. I think they should do that. I understand why they can't do it for every single channel like they used to that does certain other things like link to a website, but I think that they should give it to the ones under 10K. And yeah, Board Fan, I also feel for the people who wouldn't want to show their government ID, but we don't have much of a choice on how we, like, for verification, it's got to be that. It's got to be that. And it's not really giving it to the public. It's giving it to the platforms. And you have to do that even if you, like, you're someone who, like, doesn't want to be, like, theoretically, I understand what people's concerns with that for vulnerable groups, but those people have to give an ID to the utility company. So I think that if you're going to want certain protections on these platforms, that going the same route as the utility company makes the most sense. But I actually have a wonderful guest coming in today.
Thank you for listening to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast. Hungry for more?
Oh, that's the outro. Sorry about that.
And now, this week's special guest, bursting with ideas and ready to share them with you.
What's up?
What's going on?
Gentlemen,
What's up, Roberto?
Nick.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Nick. How are you, my friend?
Doing fantastic. I'm just waking up. So I'm basically just starting my day right now. And yeah, I was laying down there on the sofa, right? I was like, yeah, let's go, hang out and just kind of flip through YouTube real quick, start the day off right. And I was like, hey, Roberto's live. Let's let's go listen to this. So so I was listening and comment, and you're like, hey, hop on. I'm like, yeah, haven't showered yet. Like, I'm still like getting my brain going, but yeah, man, let's do it.
Nick just rolls out of bed and rolls into the stream.
Yeah, man, great conversation. Just about the like the WhatsApp scam, and one of the things that that you mentioned about people getting over it is how, and I understand because they're such a huge company that YouTube has to cater a little bit. I understand that, but
I do as well.
It gets worrisome when they start taking away features and things like that based on people's feelings. That's one thing that I really have trouble with it. In fact, I was looking in my analytics yesterday, and during that process, I had a survey pop up. And one of the questions in that survey was, how does YouTube analytics make you feel? And I was like, oh no, because I'm like, if they're doing a survey here about how it makes you feel, like, are they considering taking that away? Like, like what's going on if they're going to, be moving forward based on feelings?
I think that they might do that. With the, the 1 out of 10 feature. I don't think it's going to go away. I think the thing they should do is they should make that optional. I think they should just let us customize our analytics dashboard, to be honest. Just let us customize our analytics dashboard and let us see what we want to see, or strip certain things down and then just go to advanced mode where you and I live in advanced mode anyway. And maybe do that. Simplify it for people because it's overwhelming. Because here's the thing. I get where they're coming from, because like there are some things with the emotional spectrum that I understand them making changes for, because I understand that it's mental, emotional, especially when you're just getting started, to keep going. It's nearly an impossible task to keep going on YouTube when you're not growing right away. It's like really difficult. That's why the drop-off rate is so high. That's why the churn rate on our subscribers who actually watch is so high sometimes. It's because YouTube and entrepreneurship, no, people quit year one. That's why they subscribe, and then they're out. Like, too hard, I'm out, I'm gone. So I understand them trying to lower some of the barriers to entry. That's what TikTok and YouTube Shorts algorithm, that was about lowering the barrier to entry to let people taste success. So I get it. I get what they're doing there. I just think some things go too far. The dislikes thing didn't bother me because I've come to the conclusion that it was starting to get to a point of where people were not using it like accurately anymore. It became a meme to do certain things, or people were weaponizing it or abusing it. Now I'm worried that like copyright is being rampantly, and it's been for years, but it's getting worse. The copyright crisis is the worst I've ever seen it. It's the worst. False
Yeah, the
reporting on
copyright crisis is bad. The comment scams are bad.
the comment
All of
scams,
those things are bad.
the
They need
false
to focus
reporting
on that.
stuff.
They need to focus on that more, like before they need to fix all that before they start working on people's feelings, trying to make everybody
I agree.
feel great as a content creator. You know,
1000%, dude.
Like you were talking about with entrepreneurship and YouTube, you know, with anything that you get into, some things are just hard. And because of that, you know, the filter of success and whatever it is that you're doing is you, in terms of being able to, you know, learn whatever skills you got to learn or learn whatever information that you got to learn. Like, for example, I've never played guitar before with the exception of just kind of messing around when I was, you know, when I was younger on my brother's stuff. But I got a guitar recently and it's hard. And I'm at that point to where I could say, you know what? Guitar is not for me. Or I'm at that point to where I can say, okay, let me watch some more videos. Let me get some bands to put around my fingers in order to, you know, strengthen up my fingers. Let me get some of these little, you know, contraptions that they have in order to make my, you know, fingers, you know, just a little bit more fluid when I'm playing the guitar, that sort of thing. And that comes down to me. The guitar manufacturers aren't like, hey, let's dummy proof this guitar in order to make it to where, you know, more people can, you know, use the guitar or whatever. They're like, hey, here's our tool. Go use it. Now, the difference with YouTube is, you know, fortunately, there's a lot of, you know, great information out there, you know, on how to navigate YouTube. YouTube has tons of just great resources for that. But, you know, there is a filter of sorts when it comes to, you know, success in anything. And, you know, like on YouTube, for example, when you come onto the platform, if you are just putting up some videos, you know, some people, they just have that innate understanding and they'll do okay. Other people, if they've never done anything like this before, they don't have that innate understanding in terms of like, hey, this is clearly something that's going to grab attention, that type of thing. Then, you know, for those particular people, like they're going to have to go through a learning curve. Like you got to learn how to make thumbnails. If you're not willing to do that, then in that particular case, you're probably, you know, going to end up having a more difficult time than somebody that's like, yeah, you know what, let me learn how to make thumbnails. Let me figure out what gets my audience to click. Same exact thing goes to video editing. You know, presenting the information through animation or through, you know, the music that you're putting out or through, you know, your on-camera presence, whatever the thing is, learning, you know, how to do all of that. That's another filter. If you can make it through that filter, then you're increasing your chances of success in whatever the thing is. But in this case, you know, it would be YouTube. So, you know, I think that, you know, with anything, entrepreneurship, YouTube, learning anything, you know, you just have to go through that filter and everything isn't for everybody. And I do understand that the easier that they make it, like with shorts, you know, things like that, to where they lower that barrier to entry, more people are going to be able to come on. And that's a win because that's more views for them. And, you know, therefore, you know, advertising and all of that. However, the quality of the content may or may not
it's
take
absolutely
a hit because of that. Right.
The quality of the most of the content on YouTube is already very poor to start with, just because it's such a young dominated thing now. When I first started YouTube, the median age of YouTubers was higher, much higher, just because they didn't have the access to the resources to make content before, because software was expensive, cameras were expensive, webcams even were expensive. It was, the technology was just too like the barrier to entry was the cost barrier to entry to do online video, and also just having the bandwidth, the actual bandwidth, the internet bandwidth to do online video was so absurdly hard at the beginning of the early days of YouTube, pre-2012. It was so expensive and prohibitive that the median age of YouTubers was not very young. That was like super rare for it to be a young YouTuber was very rare back then. To be a Marquez Brownlee was very young. Okay. It was people in their 20s and 30s. It was my peers like iJustine and Freddie Wong and Philip DeFranco and people like that were the early YouTubers. Again, people, we were in our, when YouTube came out, we were in our mid 20s when YouTube came out. We were in our early to mid 20s back then. So for people to do it before they were even 18 years old was almost unheard of in the first couple of years of YouTube. It was with the evolution and things of smartphones becoming more accessible and being good cameras to film YouTube. The iPhone didn't come out until I think like 2008 or something like that. It didn't get good until like 2012 or 2011, 2012 as far as an iPhone to be able to make content. And so you had this massive barrier to entry, right? then as the quality of content with the rise of Casey Neistat, you saw that vlogging and doing stuff like that, it became a little bit more challenging because the level of quality of what was allowed to be a good YouTube video got higher and higher and higher, and people were intimidated. And then that's where the rise of Vine blew up in like 2013, because that was something that was really mobile first, and people could do it and they could see results. And it created the David Dobrik's, the Jake Pauls, the Gabby Hannas, the Lily Pons, all D Power Storm, all those people, you know. And the thing about that, King Vader, like you know, so like what happened was once you see that happen, there was then, you know, Vine died like 2016 or whatever. And then you get the beginning of the rise of like TikTok. And then TikTok starts blowing up a couple of years ago. And I feel like TikTok was the first thing to really scare YouTube in a very long time. A very long time. Like Facebook Watch was like, you know, like Instagram, like all these other YouTube competitors. God, the number of YouTube competitors that have pitched you and me that have gone under. So glad we never bit, right? Like, so when you look at it, TikTok and Twitch are the only things that had like any real impact I see on YouTube from a market share standpoint. Because look, I mean, just look at in the last 2 years, how many live streamers YouTube has thrown absurd bags at to pull them away from Twitch, and also from even up and coming live stream platforms, take them away from that, take them after Mixer went down and everything like that. So YouTube now has Dr. Disrespect. It has Dr. Lupo. They have Valkyrie, the biggest female streamer. They just got Tin the Tat Man. Harris Heller's moved completely over from Twitch. Like they're just acquiring.
And in addition to those, in addition to them, like a lot of people are now coming over just organically as well, which is also a win.
Facts. And YouTube is about to cannibalize all the features that made Twitch unique anymore. Remember what I keep saying? I keep saying platforms will become uniform and they'll become much and much more like each other. But the thing that will be different is their culture and who the stars on the platform are, and that will dictate everything. Features will not be the driving force anymore. It will basically come down to, if they don't match each other on how they pay creators, it'll be which creators dictate the culture of the platform and are the stars, and what trends are popular on those platforms. And that'll be the difference. That'll be the real difference, because features just get cannibalized. Everybody adopted video after YouTube did. Everyone adopted live streaming. Everyone adopted shorts. Stories after Snapchat. Everyone stole that from Snapchat. And now it's the same thing with short form vertical videos and virality with shorts, reels, and TikTok. And so with looking at that and the fact that their two biggest competitors just didn't bother with like a public negative counter, and almost no other platform does. YouTube cleaning up, scaling down. I just see it just like how they're taking all the features of TikTok and all the features of Twitch. I just see it as another copycat play. I really do. I know people disagree with you on that, and they have their other things they believe is what's happening. But I think when you combine all the moves YouTube is making, it is about the fact that the biggest stars and most popular names are no longer YouTubers. They haven't been for a minute. In the last 2 years, in the rise of the pandemic, it was not an influx of new YouTube stars. It was new TikTok stars, and it was new Twitch streamers. And that's who became famous. People are not becoming mainstream famous in terms of new creators in recent memory, not at the same volume from YouTube. The new stars from social media that are going mainstream are TikTokers and streamers. And if you're YouTube, if I was me, I'd see that and I'm like, no. I need something to make people feel like they can start on YouTube versus just aspiring to get to YouTube eventually. I need people to start on YouTube again if I'm in their position. And that's what what do you think about what I'm saying here?
I agree. And, like with like shorts, for example, like, removing that barrier to entry, that's a great starting point. At the end of the day, though, like it's still going to come down to, people being able to do the thing, because, like on YouTube, for example, if we just use that, or TikTok, like when you are making content for there, a lot of content creators will see the results that they're getting on these, on some of these like short form outlets. And they think like, you know, like, oh, hey, you know, I'm getting like all of these, you know, views or whatever. But in terms of, you know, like how long people are watching those and, you know, all of those sorts of things, like they still are going to have to learn, like as that gets more and more competitive, like they're still going to have to learn how to do that better. So I think that right now it's a temporary solution to, you know, to a bigger problem in terms
I agree
of,
with
you
you.
know, just making things easy. But I absolutely think that that's a great doorway to, you know, kind of indoctrinate people into, you know, YouTube as they're just getting started out as a content creator. And in addition to that, you know, like how you were talking about, you know, all the different platforms basically, you know, eventually becoming, you know, ultimately the same thing. It's just, you know, your preference of which one you go to consume, you know, the content. On the content creator side, I think that that's going to end up being a huge win for us because if, you know, everything is pretty much the same, then it makes it really easy for us to repurpose content and, you know, things like that. So, you know, on that side of things, I think that'll be a win for us, but that's one where the creators I think will win. But, you know, in terms of the platform, then, you know, I think that, you know, everything will kind of level out there. Now with like the metaverse coming, things like that, you know, everything might be, you know, everything might change, you know.
Dude, I just got my Oculus. I'm about to dive in.
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, mine's right over there. So I actually haven't been on it a lot lately. So I've actually made it like a point to where this weekend I'm actually going to hop on it for a little bit so I can start getting a little bit more involved and involved with that too. But you know, like with all of this stuff, you know, I think that with the way that people get views on the short form content, like, you know, like you just swipe up and then, you know, after they watch it for just a little bit, then like that counts as a view and then they can leave, you know, whatever. I think that that's actually like in a long-term game, like unless they can keep the systems like catering to people like that, I think, you know, from a long view, I think that that's actually going to end up working, you know, against people in a way. Because, you know, like when you can get a view from just swiping up and nobody has to actually do anything for it, nobody has to make a choice in order to see it, you're basically relying on AI, which is great. Like they're good at, you know, figuring out what it is that you want to watch. But, you know, I think that when you're starting that way, you're thinking the whole thing is a lot easier than it actually, you know, might
I agree.
be. And that's because, you know, like right now with all the vertical content, for example, it's great. Like I enjoy, you know, short form content on TikTok. I enjoy short form content on YouTube. Sometimes, you know, Reels. But it's like when it comes to that short form content right now, even though there's tons of content, you know, being flooded into it, there's just not as much of it out there compared to, you know, like longer form content, you know, horizontal videos, all that good stuff. So just the competition isn't there as heavily as it is with the, you know, with the other content that's been stacking up for, you know, over a decade. So because of that, I think that it's kind of getting people off to like people starting now, fantastic. But, you know, as we keep progressing through this, I think that it'll eventually get to that same tipping point to where, you know, you're going to have to, you know, just develop the skills, so to speak, in order to, you know, be able to tap into it. But right now, I think that it's a gold rush of sorts for people that are just getting started where it's like, hey, here's where you can come cut your teeth, so to speak, on learning how to do this stuff. And by getting that confidence, like you were talking about earlier, you know, of like, hey, I am getting views. You know, I do have people, you know, interacting with my stuff, you know, in some way. That's huge in terms of, you know, like, hey, you know, oh, wow, like this actually works. I can actually do this. And then that could be that encouragement that would propel somebody to, you know, to take it further, to learn more, you know, like those types of things. For example, my girlfriend. So she uploads every now and then just for fun. She'll upload to like TikTok or, you know, to Instagram or something like that. And she just randomly does it. She's not like trying to do anything with it or whatever. And I was like, hey, you should start using some like, you know, hashtags, you know, whatever, when you're doing this, you'll probably get more people watching. And she just uploaded Instagram reel. I think it was yesterday. Typically she'll get like, you know, 10 views, you know, something like that. She uploaded an Instagram reel. It was like yesterday, the day before. And within a few hours of uploading that, she had over 1,000 views on it. And she was elated. Like she was like, oh, you know, like why I have like 1,000, you know, 1,000 views on this. And all of a sudden it became something that was like, oh yeah, not, you know, I'm just kind of uploading here, to like, wow, people are actually looking at this, you know, maybe I should upload more. Maybe I should be a little bit more serious about this. So like I got to see firsthand through her, the, you know, the immediate impact of that moment of like, hey, you know, like this is something that, you know, that's actually working.
Dude, even for me, Instagram is making me actually get ready to use the platform more, because now that with Reels, I got like 10,000 views on a Reel. I've never got like 10,000 anything on like an Instagram thing anymore. Like, and then they're starting to do like Reels bonuses and stuff like that. Facebook is about to do Reels bonuses. Between the two incentives of, oh, you're actually giving me views and I'm actually getting engagement and it's not some struggle, and like, oh crap, I don't have nearly as many followers on Instagram, but if you're going to give me like 20, 30,000 views on something, where
I'll take them.
I'll take it, because it's like, oh wow, that's almost like on par with my big old YouTube channel. And you're just gonna give it to me, and it's short form content, and I can make this with my phone. And in my case, it's like lifestyle content because of like doing my home office and my homeowner thing and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, this will make me use Instagram more. This will make me engage, and I will do more with this, and I will make that content. Yeah, I'll do it, because you're showing me that I can reach people and that they'll care. And there's a dopamine hit for that. Even I'm not immune to that kind of dopamine. Like you can get me. So like if they can do that with me, they can do that with anybody. And like, so I see it. I see all of what I think. And when I see that on Instagram and TikTok, and then with YouTube, what's doing with shorts, and the fact that every YouTube executive, when they're in a meeting or something like that, we see, and we get to see it. So when they do an interview or whatever, shorts. It always comes back to shorts. They always talk about it every single time. There's two things they keep talking about: shorts and live streams. Shorts and live streams. So my 2020 predictions revolve almost exclusively around shorts and live streams, because I see that with them, I'm looking at it and I realize that they see that there's new market acquisition, because those two things lower the barrier to entry. Nick, they revert. I've never seen them. They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. I've never seen them so much reverse a position. They went from 0 to 1,000 for you to be able to live stream on your phone, and they just took it down to 50. I've never seen them reverse a decision so dramatically, so quickly around something that they've had in place for that level of time. And what it told me was, oh, y'all are coming for live streamers. You want the barrier to entry to live stream while still having the safety protocol in place, so that nothing happens with like, an active shooter event. Like you still want safety in place, but you decided that 1,000 was way too much, and you brought it down to 50. And I'm like, okay, I see what y'all are about. Y'all are about talent acquisition and lowering barriers to entry. They lowered community tab to 500. We've never seen them do that, Nick. We've never seen them budge on coming down under 1,000. I would not be shocked if in like a year to 2 years. Let me know how you feel about this, Nick. Do you think I'm right about this? I think before 2015, it's possible YouTube might lower the bar on YouTube monetization.
Man, that's a tough one.
Before 2015.
For 2015?
I'm sorry, not 2015.
Yeah.
Why did I say that? I meant, no, 2025. You know what I meant, 2025. 2015 is going back in time to when they did
I'm
have
still
it,
waking up too. So I was like,
right.
2015? Yeah.
Yeah, 2025.
So I was following you on that one. But
2025, I think they bring it down. I don't know if it'll be subs or watch time, but by 2025, I believe they do something. And I'm like pinging them about it. I'm like, lower it.
I think that if they did bring it down, I think it might hit maybe like 500 subscribers, but I
Sure.
think they'll still have some type of relatively strong barrier to entry for that, just because of what's at stake in terms
Sure.
of, people uploading, inappropriate things and just kind of, spamming the platform with stuff that, that advertisers wouldn't like and that sort of thing.
Dude,
so I think that
either 500 subscribers and 2,000 hours of watch time, or 1,000 subscribers and 2,000 hours, and I think we're good.
Or 500 and 1,000, like that's still fine.
Or even like 1,000 and 1,000. That'd be clean.
Yeah.
So something.
Yeah, so I they might. But like, one thing that I think is happening, with all of this is that, they don't have a choice in terms of, having to expand into, hey, let's do more with live streaming. Let's do, more with short form content. We've already got podcasts on the platform. So I'm sure, just an audio version of that's probably coming as well. But it's like when, you can just do it anyway. Like you can just listen to it in like YouTube music through the, just audio, or just have it on play in the background or whatever. But so it's already there kind of. But
they might switch to like an audio only switch. That way you can reduce bandwidth. Yeah.
But I think that with that I think that like the only choice that they have if they're going to keep expanding is you have to just creating more tools, more ways for people to make content for the platform. You got to keep bringing more people on so that you can just keep expanding everything. And if that means that they have to cater more to the live streaming crowd, or that they have to cater more to the shorts crowd or whatever in order to make it happen, then by all means that's exactly what they should do in order to keep everything expanding on the platform. Because YouTube is a behemoth, as we all know, and in order to maintain that, like they have to evolve as everything else evolves during this time of all this amazing technology taking place. Like they have to, evolve with it in order to remain the behemoth of a platform that they are.
Dude, I think they need to double their staff or something, or at least increase it by 20 to 30%, because I think they're understaffed. I really do, because I think that the influx of new creators is going to explode over the next 5 years. And I think with the global expansion into other territories that are large population centers outside the US, you and I both know the future is not in the West, it's overseas. It's the overseas markets. It's not
The
in the
majority
West.
viewership on YouTube is already outside of America.
Exactly. And the thing is, we don't have full penetration in those non-English speaking markets. There's still 40% of internet adoption to be had. Like we've already fully saturated. I believe we've already fully saturated. 95% of the Western English speaking market has access to these things already. So as far as viewership, the rest of it exists in the larger population centers, and it's not even close. So I believe,
you know what I'm looking forward to?
Go ahead.
In that regard, in terms of, just the global aspect of YouTube, is I'm looking forward to when they start rolling out like instant audio translations. Like that's what I'm looking forward to.
I think it's coming.
Like, they already have, where you can have like, translations to the video, and they can translate, captions and things like that. However, like what I'm looking forward to just for the future of all of this stuff, and everybody will eventually do it, is to where, an AI or whatever ends up, just being able to reread what it is that you're talking about, or what it is that you're explaining, or whatever the thing is, the type of content that you make, to where anybody will be able to, access the information and hear it in their native tongue. I think that that'll be, at least for the, for the dominant languages.
2030 in beta, 2035. Yeah, 2030 in beta. I'm saying it right now, predicting it. 2030, it's in beta.
I don't think it'll take that long. I'll be surprised if that doesn't
you think
roll out within the
2025?
next like 5 years.
So beta, you think beta in 2025?
Yeah, or sooner. Like that technology is already available. Like they just have to implement it into their system. Like, you can get it through apps, for example. Like I can set my.
I think the problem is the accuracy.
Sure. But like the accuracy that I currently get, and Thai is a very difficult language, with my girlfriend running through an app to where we can, talk back and forth, because she, speaks Thai as her native language, and then, I speak English. So because of that, we have our own version that we do to where we kind of mix it up. But sometimes, we'll have to, use one of those apps or Google Translate or whatever in order to flush out a thought. And on the ones where you actually speak into it, it's pretty impressive already in terms of how easily, it translates. And I'm sure that, because I've never used it in like, English to Spanish, for example, but I bet that version of it is way more accurate, or, just more on point, so to speak, than the version that I'm using for Thai language. But when it comes to that, I think that's just going to open things up, and that will help, a lot of content creators everywhere be able to reach people.
I agree.
Everywhere without those barriers. Like think about it from the other end too.
Yeah.
Like let's say that you have somebody in Nigeria that's making videos for YouTube, and they're speaking in their native tongue, and then that's able to be translated back to where we can understand it clearly, in English. Then, that would open up an entire world to everybody in terms of, the different cultures and the way that, the different people in different countries view certain things and things like that. So I think it'll be a game changer once they get to the point of rolling that out. If they roll it out. I mean, I could be wrong. They might not ever.
I think,
but
no, they
because
will.
that technology is there, it just makes sense that
2025 to 2030
on the horizon.
It happens in 2025 to 2030. If you're right, it betas sooner rather than later. I think they still have a ways to go. I think it'll get there. Dude, I believe that the future of the platform for YouTube, at least, is I believe that it is going to be dynamic serving content like you're talking about. And I think that they'll go to the Netflix side. I think it'll be like Netflix. I think YouTube will go like Netflix. It'll be dynamic serving, means dynamic serving where you'll be able to opt in to dynamic serving thumbnails, to where you'll be able to upload multiple thumbnails, dynamic serving off of that, dynamic titles, as long as it, like, maybe not dynamic titles, to be honest with you, but dynamic, because they'll clickbait, but dynamic thumbnails for sure. A/B testing, adoption, and adaption. And part of the reason I know they'll probably do that is because they already have the technology for that, because it's called Google Ads. It's called Google Ads, and their internal thumbnail tool too. They have an internal A/B testing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like they have it already. Like at let's see here, at ClamorCon, I think it was.
Karen
I was hanging
Cabot
out at the TubeBuddy booth there, and somebody was having Andrew Can review their channel, and it was a pretty big channel. I can't remember who it was, but they were having Andrew review their channel, and they were actually testing it at that point in time. So yeah, so like it's there. They
Well, I
actually
saw a
have it in the system,
presentation,
but it's just not, it's just not.
I saw a
available to
presentation
everybody.
from Karen Cavett and a YouTube employee back a couple, like 2 or 3 ClamorCons ago, before, or one more before the pandemic started or whatever it was. And they had that tool, and they were talking about how they used it to test like the thumbnails for like Cobra Kai and stuff like that when YouTube was producing instead of Netflix. And I'm like, oh, they got it. And so like, so they'll so yeah, I believe in like they'll dynamically serve the right thumbnails, and they'll even know what's the best thumbnail for each device, whether it's TV, uh, desktop, mobile, blah blah blah. They'll know, and they'll
And for the best, and for the viewers too.
and for
Like
the
for
viewer type.
example, like if you're somebody that typically clicks on thumbnails with, faces on them, then you'll probably see a thumbnail with a face, compared to if you're somebody that never clicks or that rarely clicks on a thumbnail with a face on it. Then in that particular case, they might show you more of just like an image about the content, or a graphic based thumbnail or something like that, based on whatever options.
And I believe because of the Google AI for Google Translate, I believe they'll also be able to re-render text in your thumbnails into other languages, and they'll be able to do it off of that. So I believe they'll do that. They'll do that even on the graphics without you having to make a new graphic. They'll be able to do that, and they'll also
that technology is there too.
Exactly.
Like there's translation photo apps. Like here in Thailand, I can't remember because I hardly ever use it, but I've got it in my phone to where like for example, I can open that app, and then through the camera itself, I think it's actually a Google product, but basically through the camera, like I can hold it up to a stop sign, and the stop sign, it's written in Thai, but it basically will translate it into English, right there on the spot. I can look at
I see that with Google Translate
like
in real time.
ingredient labels on food, like that type of thing. It just translates, everything over. It's a little bit weird, and like the letters will shift around. Like
they're getting better with that layered AR. Like I believe we'll live in a mixed reality world, not just the AR versus VR and everything. I believe we'll live in what I call layered reality, where you'll be able to use technology stacks to have different experiences of reality based on what technology stacks you have. So layered reality is everything from your wearables giving you a different contextual experience of the world, to wearables that are AR based, giving you a different experience of the world based on that, and the ability to interact and stuff like that. And I believe that layered reality will be most people's experience of the world before 2040. I believe most people will have a layered experience of reality in 2040. Like I genuinely believe that. Like, and so that everybody will be able, because by layered reality, I'm talking beyond the AR experience, because remember what we're talking about. I'm talking like you will literally be able like to have the audio in your glasses, you'll be able to switch, and then you'll have auto translations. You will always have basically, it'll be like Star Trek in the sense that you'll have a universal translation. You'll have a universal experience of your interactions with people in real time, like no delay, no cap, no latency. And on top of that, you'll have an AR experience where you can contextualize the world in the way that you need it at any given time for your personal needs. And then when you want to have a completely different experience in life, you'll go into a virtual world. And then you'll have meaningful experiences in that virtual world on top. So again, you will literally be able to live in reality on your own terms within 20 years.
Exciting times, man. Exciting times. Like this is like a killer time to be alive. Like during this, transition part. I mean, who knows where it's headed, but it's heading. I'm gonna guess it's a pretty awesome place. I wish that I had like an extra 100 years on top of however long I'm gonna live now. But like I'm super grateful to just be a part of things as they're changing right now. I just think.
Well, me, I'm gonna be a Sith Lord. I'm just gonna live. Me, I'm gonna be a Sith Lord. I'm just gonna live forever. I'll see it all.
Right.
So like but yeah, dude, it's super exciting times, and like I said, I'm really into what we have to look forward to between creator economy platform evolution, the metaverse, and all of it. And again, there's so much technology that's just hasn't been connected that already exists to improve some of the things we have, which makes it more annoying that there are things like these WhatsApp scams and things like that. You would think that they would have solutions, but at the same time, the scale of the platform, I understand, and that like tinkering with the comments and filtering and stuff like that is really, they're trying to be careful, because I think that they're worried it's dangerous, but then there's also free speech concerns. If they screw it up, it's bad. It's like, there's just so much, there's so many problems with that. And again, I'm really annoyed with one of the things I'm annoyed with all the crypto scams is the fact that it undermines everything that's coming for Web 3.0 and introduces another layer of skepticism. But you and I remember in Web 2.0, there was a bunch of scams too. A lot of people just don't remember and don't understand that, like, at that point, people thought the whole damn internet was a scam.
Right.
People don't remember and they think it got
Wait,
worse.
my computer's infected? All I have to do is click this, and then it'll fix my computer that's supposedly infected. Sweet, I'm in.
People think everything is worse now as far as these scams, and I'm like, are y'all kidding me? Y'all must have been super young, and it is people who are super young. It's people like 10, 15 years younger than you and I, that are in their early 20s that largely think this, or it's people who are older but they didn't get on the internet. They all think it's somehow the worst it's ever been. I'm like, y'all weren't there. It was worse. It was the scams.
Just little details.
The scams
like
were
viruses,
worse.
for example.
Hmm?
Yeah, like viruses. It's super hard to get virus now. You have to like go hunting for a virus on your computer, or you have to go into some pretty shady stuff in order to to worry about getting like a virus on your computer, or just click on the wrong things in your email or whatever. But like like these days, like people that like a lot of people they don't even need computers anymore. Like a lot of people, but like like your phones and all that stuff, like they protect you so much from all of those types of things that that you don't even have to even like think about that stuff. Like I remember, and I'm sure you do too. Like I remember navigating the internet and thinking to myself, like, man, I don't know if I should click on this or not. Like, is this like legit? Is this not legit? If I click on it, the risk is like, okay, if I click on this, then if I download something on my computer, then I might have to spend the next like few days trying to get this, problem out of my, trying to get this problem out of my computer. So yeah, it's a totally different world now. And I agree. It was definitely worse before, but I think that when it comes to the worst side, I think that a lot of people, especially like older people, will see like the worst as in terms of like people and how they're representing themselves and like that type of thing.
Sure.
I think that's where a lot of that type of thing comes from. But in terms of it being dangerous, I think it's more dangerous for like institutions than it is for for
facts
these days. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's far worse for that. And I think that I don't think it's that difficult in many cases, with the exception of like impersonation. See, I think impersonation is where scamming is more dangerous. But I think aside from impersonations, I think it's actually hard to get scammed if you're yourself a good faith actor. I think it's hard to get scammed. I think people get scammed who are trying to get rich quick. You and I probably haven't gotten scammed on the internet our entire adult life because we're not trying to get 15 years of a lifestyle in 15 days.
Right.
We're not trying to sit there and change our lives
overnight.
24
hours.
Yeah. Or in the next 24 hours. Yeah, we're not trying to change our lives overnight. Like, that's the difference. And I understand that preys on people that have a desperate mindset and mentality, but it's like, but in general, everything that's ever been predatory has been toward people in that situation. Even the traditional institutions are predatory toward those people, which is kind of even the point of like Web 3.0 and crypto is more transparency, peer-to-peer, less middlemen and stuff like that. I mean, every dollar you have in like something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, like a legitimate stable coin, right? Not one of these new altcoins or whatever, but everything you have that's like in a stable, meme coin, everything that's in a stable thing like Bitcoin or Ethereum is a dollar that you don't have in the banks and the traditional institutions. And that's why they want to lobby and regulate and do all that stuff, because every dollar you don't have in a digital currency is a dollar that the banks lose. Every dollar that you have in digital currency is a dollar the bank doesn't have. And the banks make the banks offer your monthly fees. I did a calculation of like what would happen if I get the $12 monthly fees based on not having a high balance. What about 25 years? And then I did that over 25 years. Then I looked at compound interest. What if my bank just bought its own stock and I just use whatever the lowest percentage gain year has been in the last decade for my bank? And I realized that my bank would make $4 million off of 25 years of monthly fees. Not even the late fees, not even the money that's sitting in my account in terms of the balance, just off of the $12 a month balance fees. Over the course of a 25-year lifetime, the banks would make like $4 million just off of the interest if they only did one thing with it, Nick: buy their own stock. Insanity. And that's not the money they're lending out. That's not the money that they're using speculative betting on the market or doing options or none of it. And that's absurd to me. So that's why I'm like, oh, it clicked for me. I'm like, oh, that's why they hate crypto. Because every dollar we put into digital currencies, every dollar we put into something that's not a traditional institution is a dollar that's not on their balance sheet for them to get rich off of. And when I realized
And that's
that, I
not money
realized
that they
how the
can
world
loan
works.
back out either,
Yeah, exactly. And when I
which
realized
is
I'm like,
also part of them getting rich off of it. Yeah.
exactly. When I realized that, I'm like, when I realized when you learn how anyone makes their money, it all becomes clear. When you learn how anyone makes their money. I mean, it's a good thing. Like you and I are very transparent about how we make our money, but it's like it becomes enormously clear what the incentive is to do something. And this is why I love what we have with the creator economy, because we're taking back the equity and the power from institutions and traditional gatekeepers. There's not like no one at a publishing house can truly stop you from putting out your book now. Nobody at a radio station can really keep your music from being heard. Nobody at a television show studio or whatever can make sure that your thing doesn't get out.
Not only can they not only is that person, not making sure, but like they're not even needed anymore. Like, if you take the right approach, like you don't even need all those, gatekeepers anymore. Like it's all obsolete. Like, of course, if you're trying to get on like TV, like on the news or something, then of course you would need a little bit of that on the PR side.
Of course.
But in terms of, like somebody being able to, out of their place, or just walking down the street, whatever the thing is, being able to make content and have it distributed like, all over Earth, essentially, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, it's the world is radically different, dude. Like 15, 20 years ago, none of this existed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a whole new reality. It's pretty nuts. I remember when my brother got a smartphone, and I was like, I don't need that. He's like, dude, you need to get one of these. And it was like, when they first, started, releasing smartphones, he's like, dude, you got to get one of these. And I was like, oh, why would I use that? Like, I don't need that. I'm cool with my Nokia that I can play Snake on, like totally cool there. And then now, it's like people can't live, it seems like, without a phone. But in addition to that,
runs
not
our
only can you
lives.
not live without it, but you can also use it to, generate income for your family, to, to learn all of the things that you need to learn in order to create a better lifestyle for yourself and those around you. It's just, it's insane.
It's life-changing. It's life-changing. I know people who've literally changed their whole life because of a smartphone. I mean, including Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast, his videos, he got to 200,000 subscribers off of a broken iPhone 4. Star Wars Theory used a phone for years.
I have a friend here locally. His name's Chris. He has a YouTube channel called Retired Working for You. And on his YouTube channel, he grew it over 2020. He went from 0 to 100,000 subscribers in like 10 months, and everything on his phone, no microphone, like, no external mic, nothing. He's since upgraded. He has a drone now. He's got a dude that follows him around and flies the drone. He's got a lapel mic so he can get his audio better and things like that. But because he was able to use his phone to grow his influence on YouTube, he also, like, part of what he does, he has a thing where he does like a pay it forward charity thing that he does here in Thailand on a regular basis. And because of that, he's been able, like, he started with his phone, and through that and the influence that he's gained through, just using his phone, he has people donate through his YouTube channel to these causes, and he's able to help like children and just people in need all around Thailand. All of that, it's because of his phone. So in addition to the impact it's had on him, he's also able to ripple that impact through people that also need it, which is pretty incredible.
That is amazing that he's able to have that kind of an impact in people's lives. Eventually I plan to do something. I've been talking about my 1,000 creators fund thing that I want to do in the near future. There's like some traction on that. The thing is, eventually when I incorporate it as a non-profit or not-for-profit, I'm gonna have to find somebody else to be freaking CEO of it. I'm doing too much as it is. Nick, what's the channel name again?
Retired Working for You.
Yeah, Retired Working for You.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, I'm really excited about this. Mitch Jackson, our friend Mitch Jackson, he's like really leading the charge on this metaverse stuff right now. He's welcoming people in, ushering them in, taking them on tours. It's like he got Viper in. It's like, it's great. So then probably this weekend or something like that, I'm gonna probably end up, like, me and Viper probably go on a trip in the metaverse this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah,
I haven't explored that much. Like, I've watched a few videos on it and things like that, but that's why I was saying, like, this weekend is my, like, hey, I need to roll up my sleeves and get in there. Do you have like specific apps or whatever inside of the Quest that you need to get
I'm
into
not
in
set
order
up on
to?
all of that yet.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Mitch and Viper are gonna tell me the stuff that I need, and then I'm just gonna like do what they do. Like
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Dude, I saw something on like Twitter where like someone put it in my timeline where like there was like someone doing like really, really cool mocap Star Wars stuff. And I'm like,
Nice.
if we're gonna get to really, really just go into the metaverse and be Jedi and Sith, I can actually become the Emperor. I'll do it too. Like I'll just go. Like I'm like, I'll go to the
Claiming
metaverse.
that spot.
I'll claim a spot. I'll build my
Oh,
Sith
I love
temple.
it.
I'll build the Death Star. I'll do the whole thing. It's like I'll build an army. I'm like, let's go. I'm serious. I will just live in the metaverse and everything like that as an eternal Sith Lord. I'll just live in the metaverse as the eternal Emperor and of the galaxy. And I would just literally just live in the metaverse. I'm done. I'm like, all right, I'm out. I'm gone. It's like, oh, we lost Roberto to the metaverse. I mean,
So good.
it's it's that I can see people doing that though, by the way. I can see people just deciding that they enjoy their experience in another reality more. And we've seen to some extent people build more meaningful relationships through the internet, through social media, and communities where they feel accepted that they weren't in the real world. And I think that that's great. I think it's actually really good. But I can also straight up see people largely doing what they need to do to survive, to then have happiness in a place where that happiness feels more attainable.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of the direction that things are going when it comes to that. Is, you know, like in the future, of course, as we know, you know, like with AI and all of that and robots and that whole thing, like the, you know, amount of jobs that are going to be absorbed by, you know, those sorts of things is going to be pretty substantial.
It's going to be
And, you know,
carnage.
because of that, like there's got to be something that pacifies people, or people are going to take to the streets. So, you know,
Well, if they
so
do
because
that,
of
you
that,
don't
I
want to
think
know
all
what
of these types of things are a great solution for that
like
problem.
I understand the concern about that, and I would theoretically be more worried about that if I didn't know that DARPA already has sonic weaponry and that they don't have to fire a single shot. I already know that they literally can just unleash a frequency that'll have you curling up in a ball, vomiting and crying and saying make it stop, because it'll just, your inner ear will ache so much you won't be able to
But there's
do.
a difference in having to use that type of technology versus like, here, let's just give them this, and
Oh,
then they'll
facts.
just entertain themselves.
Bread
And
and
they'll leave us
circuses
alone,
are
and we don't have
cheaper.
to do anything.
Bread and
Right.
circuses are cheaper, but it's
Yeah.
like, you do realize that like if Skynet happened, like we really can't fight it, and it doesn't need to like destroy us. It can just subdue us. So it would just like, it would just subdue us. And the thing is, it doesn't need to go that far. I really think Skynet would rather pacify us. To be, I think that Skynet would just rather just lull us and say, is that like, you know what? Why risk, John Connor? Why take the risk? I'll just like let them play video games.
Right.
Like,
Like,
I
that'll
mean,
keep them happy. Let's figure out how to get them money so they can eat, and then just like have them, you know, living in these
yeah,
like
I
virtual
don't think,
worlds and
I
whatnot.
think Skynet
All good.
knows. I think Skynet knows, you know what? They're savages and they're really inventive. I won't risk a war. I won't risk a confrontation on the off. You know, if there's a slight chance that they could just get it done and that they're willing to like just destroy all of reality to beat me because they're that petty, they're not rational, like these meat bags. It's like, you know what? I'll just go another way. Like gaming it is. Like have fun. Like we can coexist. Like I really feel like a machine mind would say, I'll take that small chance that they could beat me as an absolute certainty and go a different way. And so yeah, so I think that they would just like throw us some gaming, throw us some calories. Yeah, kind of like go the Wally route and just like, you know what? It's like have fun, meat bags. Like
Right.
and then
Hey,
Skynet's,
Roberto, really
yeah.
quick, I need to step away for about 1 minute.
Sure.
And then I'll be right back.
Yeah. While you do that, I'll get to the chat a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so no, Nick will be right back, everyone, on the podcast. But yeah, no, this has been really interesting. And yeah, I like talking about these predictions. I actually have a video that I'm planning for the next couple of days on my predictions with regard to the future of social media. So I have a social media predictions video. I have a YouTube predictions video for 2022. And I'm going to make a metaverse predictions video. Gotta make a metaverse predictions video. Oh yeah, Frost FM. Yeah, I know a lot of people whose lives have been changed by crypto. Absolutely, I know people. I know a couple of people who actually are legitimate crypto millionaires. But I'm not sitting here telling everybody to go buy crypto, blah blah blah, go buy Bitcoin. No, I'm not doing that. Like again, this is the problem with even the people with these scam WhatsApp comments. Is that I don't even make content where I'm advocating for crypto on my channel, and they still take advantage of it. And it's so weird. And so, guys, just so you know, again, PSA heads up. I will never. First of all, like Nick, can you believe that anyone really believes that a YouTuber will give them their WhatsApp number? That was the weirdest thing to me. Is that people actually? I get that people can be a little naive, or they could be like, "Oh wow, they replied to me," and they get excited or whatever. But I'm like, I think it's incredibly naive to even think a public figure will give you their WhatsApp number. So the impersonation thing on that level is just a little annoying. But then here's the thing though. What are the actual chances of someone who doesn't make content with crypto or doesn't have their own coin, or like what's the odds of that person trying to get you to actually invest in this stuff? It's like, why would they be messaging about that versus like buying anything else that they actually have? Like, why would you think that they're going to do that? Like,
that sounds good with life experience, but keep in mind that on YouTube there are a lot of young people on the platform that just haven't run into those types of issues yet, to where they're like, sweet, this person's gonna like help me out personally. All I got to do is like connect with them on WhatsApp. This is fantastic, right? So I'm sure that that's probably part of the thing.
It's a numbers game.
We should be proactive. Yeah. And we should just go ahead and because I don't use WhatsApp anyway, so we should just be proactive and just give it away in our YouTube channels. Be like, hey, this is my actual WhatsApp. So if you like, if you see a WhatsApp in the comments, it's not my actual WhatsApp. This is the WhatsApp. If you want to get in touch.
And I like no, not even doing it. But here's the thing: if it is a legitimate YouTuber and they have a texting community or something, guys, it will not be like somebody replying to you in the comments. It'll be the pinned comment on their channel, or it will be in the description of the actual video, or it will be pinned in their verified with a check mark legitimate profile in Twitter or something. It will not be a comment directly to you in the comment sections of a video. And so that's why I tweeted it out like, hey, let me just help you all out. This will never happen. The end. You're welcome. No one will do this. It's not them. If you see this, it's a scam. Not just for me, but I will speak for all YouTubers here. I will speak on behalf of the entire YouTube community. No YouTuber is going to give you their WhatsApp number if you do not personally meet them in person. They're not going to give you their WhatsApp number, and they're certainly not going to reply it to you in the comments. It is not going to be the YouTuber. The end. They are not going to personally call and text you. It's not going to happen.
That would actually be a really fun video to make, Roberto. Just like the whole title is like, this is my real WhatsApp. And like, that's just the video on the channel. And then you just refer people over to that anytime those scams start going out. Like, hey, if you like, this is the legit one, share it in the community feed. Getting hammered right now. This is the, this is the right one.
Something, man. Like, maybe I'll make some kind of like, YouTube Shorts PSA that's somewhat of a parody where I'm literally doing that like announcer voice of like it's like PSA. It's like, hey, if you ever see this in the YouTube comment section from any creator, then you should assume it's a scam. And that'll be the thing, because I mean it's just so frustrating, dude. And with me, I get impersonated all the time in like Instagram, and I'm like, Instagram, it's been 12 times. How many bloody times? And y'all say, oh, verification is not for clout, it's for protection of the community and all this stuff. It's like, if that's true, how many times do I have to be impersonated? How many people have to report it before y'all just give me the bloody check mark? Not because I want or need it for clout, but because I need a way for people to just say, hey, it's me, versus, hey, it's not me. Hey, this is clearly a scam. How many times does it have to happen? How many of your users have to actually get screwed out of money or complain or be duped before y'all take it seriously. And why can't we just give people verification that are willing to tie their online identity to their government ID? Why can't we just do it? For the people who are willing.
I think
For the
that's a
people who are
little.
willing.
I think if we start going that route, like China, I think that people will have huge privacy issues with that.
No, only for the people who are willing. Only for the people who want.
Oh, for the people that are willing. Okay, yeah. That would.
I mean, eventually, I would like us to just go to a real ID system. I understand some people and some vulnerable people are like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, but you do it for your utility bill. Let's just treat it the same way. And again, these companies are less likely to get hacked or compromised than your local utility company is. I mean, just look at what happened with like T-Mobile, Verizon, like all. So like, it's the same level of risk, and it's with a company. And then my answer to it to incentivize people is maybe we limit the features of people who won't verify themselves. And because if we have a singular, all social media accounts are tied to your identity, and so then there's no more sock puppet accounts. So there's no more fake accounts to harass people because it's all this. Or you have limited throttled usage if you're just going to be anonymous. And then that means people can still use stuff, but they don't, but there's a tiered experience, or things are delayed, or things are given more scrutiny. And then that just makes it safer for everybody. In aggregate, it makes it safer for literally 99% of people. But like, by the way, since you are overseas, please do go into like the problems that exist with China with this kind of thing already. Because I know they have problems with social scoring and all the. Go ahead.
Well, my brother's girlfriend, she's native Chinese. So because of that, they actually met here like on vacation. With them over there, what they have to do is they actually have to, submit ID, and then they'll get like an actual code, so to speak, or like a number that goes along with their, ID. And when they're interacting on social media, everything is, kind of attached to that, so they can track everything back if they need to. On our end, if we, implement something like that, I think that they should just have, I mean, this also, like, this gets into like heavy policing, and I'm never a fan of this.
Sure.
But like a solution, even though it's not one that I would be a fan of, would be to have some type of, I'm not going to say governing body, because that's not what it would be, but basically
oversight.
One source, one company, or like a handful of companies that would be like the verification companies that YouTube and Instagram and any other social media platform that pops up. Basically, they would be able to connect with them to verify that the people are actually who it is that they say they are.
So yeah, it's a third party oversight.
Yeah.
It's a third party oversight committee, and it's for verification purposes. It's like I kind of like this idea of something like that. And I know that there are problems with it. It have to be worked out. Nothing's perfect, but I think it's close. And because I mean, we have to go through this when we do things in the real world, and I think we need to think of ourselves as digital citizens. I don't think we need to think of these things as separate anymore. I think we're digital citizens. And the thing
we are who we are, and we represent ourselves through that, through whatever, social media accounts.
Exactly. So the thing is, I'm like, so why don't we have a digital passport system? Because I think we need one, because I think we're digital citizens. And I think that once you get to that point, the thing I like about the metaverse is I like the idea of like a uniformed way of like my digital identity having continuity through my entire internet experience. I want basically I truly want to just be a digital citizen. Honestly, I'm a citizen in a country, and I'm a citizen in the world, and like my passport's coming, so I will be truly a global citizen. And the thing is, you can tie my behavior and my actions, and you can hold me accountable regardless of where I am. Even if the rules are changing with where I am, just like the terms of services do, you can still tie it to me uniquely as an entity, as an individual. And as an individual, I'm also living online almost as much as I'm living in the real world at this point. And
it'll get there.
As a digital
like what you're talking about,
yeah,
man, what you're talking about, like you'll get there. Like that's going to happen. Like,
I just want to be a digital citizen.
Yeah, it's inevitable. And to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of that. Like I think that, and I understand the perspective as well in terms of the like how you give your ID to like electric companies and things like that.
Yeah.
But doing that for the sake, and I mean, for your internet bill, to be on the internet in the first place. But like
all of our
there's just
online hosting,
weird.
all of it.
There's just something weird. It just feels weird in terms of, like needing to, like, okay, let's say, for example, somebody is like, hey, actually they would already be, Yeah, that's
I don't
that's a
agree
tough
with
one.
social credit score, by the way. That I'm not talking about the same thing as social credit score. It's not the
Well,
same
you
thing.
mentioned digital passport, and since you mentioned digital passport, that's where I was like, that's kind of like a
What
little
the way
bit
I'm talking about a digital passport,
intrusive.
the way I'm talking about a digital passport is I'm talking about the migration of your the migration of your upside of everything that you can do as you move from system to system, because right now think about the fact that you have to, like, you don't have you don't have your visual avatar profile synced across all systems, right? So that's annoying. You don't have there's a lot of things that we would just conveniently want, like single sign on, like we have, to where when I'm on these platforms, like there are things where you know that it's me, for one thing, so the verification aspect, yes, but then other things like, why do I have to repeat some of these same processes versus just having it all synced up to me? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
that's what
I
I'm
do.
really getting at. And that means also that um like basically being able to essentially have uniformed metadata across my digital website identities, having uniform things so that when I update something, it syncs and updates where it needs to across my platforms, or I can check the boxes for them and it'll go to all of them, so that I could just stop wasting time doing it. You know what I'm saying? Just like how we all know that, like, we want an easier system like that for the DMV. Like, do you realize there's no reason we should have to be at the DMV all the damn time? Like, it's like, come on.
Right.
Like, so that's what I'm getting at. Like, that's what I'm getting at. And again, I'm going toward the full on convenience aspect of it and things like that. So like for me, it's one of those things to where it's like I want the convenience of it, and I want myself essentially to be an NFT. I want myself to be an NFT. I'm a unique entity. Okay, I'm a unique entity, literally, quite literally. So now if we digitize me, I can then be non-fungible and tokenized in such a way as to make it convenient to verify what I have, who I am, and what that entitles me to. And then also you could theoretically also hold me accountable for what I do as a digital citizen. And I think that makes sense.
Yeah, like that definitely feels intrusive. Like I understand the convenient side. It just definitely feels a little bit intrusive. But you know, I mean,
to get paid, I have to give them my social security number. I literally have to give them my social security number to get paid.
Yeah, that's what she just said. On the getting paid side, right? Because there's money attached to it. But like the other side of that is, you know, the people that are just coming on the internet, not just coming onto the internet, but like people that are not, you know, content creators, people that are not actually contributing to the internet in terms of content, but they're contributing to the internet in terms of, you know, interacting with websites, commenting, you know, on, you know, Reddit, you know, tweeting, you know, like that kind of stuff. I think that's where that difference comes in. For us as content creators, sure, like we have to give our stuff in order to get paid, you know, and all of that. But for people that are just regular internet users that are not content creators, or they're not, you know, that they don't have to get paid from the internet, like for those people, I definitely think it's kind of crossing the line a little bit.
Don't you think with the Great Resignation at this point?
On the positive side, though, on the positive side, I do see that, you know, like just like in China, like if you have your identity attached to your online interactions, the internet will be a totally different place. Like instead of it being, you know, I mean, jerks will still be there, but instead of it being, you know, to where somebody can just, you know, have like an alt account that they use, and then through that alt account,
yeah, no sock puppet accounts,
things. Yeah, like you know, like that whole thing would just completely disappear, which would be, you know, pretty.
Dude,
awesome.
You know what?
It would make the internet cooler.
Predators would disappear. Predators would disappear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Predators would disappear.
Absolutely.
The sock puppet account, the scammers
would disappear.
Scammers, predators, the sock puppets accounts, any coordinated violence, any of that, gone. Because how could you really do it at that point? Like, but so like, it's like it's worth thinking about. I understand there are problems. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm like, there's a lot of upside to consider. A lot. I think with the great, what do you think with the great resignation of the fact that we're outliers now, but don't you think that more people will be making money through online means?
Without question.
I mean, I
Without
think
question.
in like 20
it's
years,
one of the fastest growing.
not,
I read something recently. It's one of the fastest growing like new business things right now.
oh, right
is
now, the
content creation.
fastest way to
Yeah.
Kevin O'Leary came out and he said that, hey, if you'd asked me before the pandemic what degree you can absolutely always monetize and make a good living on, or what degree will make you rich, he was like, number one is engineer, number two is an engineer, number three is engineer. And he said, and Evan Carmichael has this interview with it and a short, I think, or was it Lewis Howes? It's one of them. And he was like, and now I've changed my mind on that. And he said, if you can create content on the internet, if you can, be a digital creator, if you can edit video, if you can do storytelling, if you can do these things, like, he's like, well, I'll start you at like $100,000 a year. And he explained why. And it was like, and he did it all in under 60 seconds. And it's like, I'm flabbergasted because Kevin O'Leary was really adamant about the only degree that he thinks really is valid is like engineering. And I get where he's coming from. And it makes sense. I'd probably say the same thing. But he's pivoted to creator is more valuable, he thinks, long term, even than engineer. And it's Kevin O'Leary, it's Mr. Wonderful. I'm like, that to me is a sign. That's like, oh, we're turning the corner here. He sees it. So like industry will follow because that's Mr. Wonderful. He doesn't play and he sees it. So I'm like, this is, and then the Great Resignation, like the Great Resignation is making it very clear. Creator economy is making it very clear. And then even startups, everyone's saying that like being a content creator is the new startup and it's even leaner. And it's just like,
as lean as you can get. Like you can't get any more lean. Like if you can afford this, not even this one. Like if you can afford just like, a phone with a camera in it, like that's your, that's
and
your
now
startup.
what's that?
Like,
what's that?
It.
What's that $30 a month plan?
Right.
Like,
yeah. So like if you can do that, then you're off to the races.
iPad now like $20 a month, dude. And an iPad can edit 4K video now like nothing. With LumaFusion, $20, you own the software forever, and that's all you need. And it's like dunzo, man. Like, and that's it. And that's where we are. And now streaming, dude, even with Elgato, you can get like a premium, pretty much Elgato setup with ring light, face cam, and microphone, and be like, you'd spend all of like $500-$600 and you'd have as good of a live stream or podcasting setup as anybody. $500. Like next level. It's crazy what's available to people now and how good it can be and how competitive it can be and how much it can be monetized. Dude, in like 10 years, every one of these platforms will be monetized. The bars and barrier to entry will be much lower because then that's more partners making more money for the platforms and more people will participate and more people will be like involved. It's like this is where we're going, and it needs to happen because also like you and I were talking about, AI is going to displace so many jobs. It's ridiculous that so we have the Great Resignation. We're going to have the Great Displacement on that. It's all syncing up. The automation is coming, and it plays out and it makes sense. And so I think that then the other thing we're talking about with, well, they're going to have to deal with the scammers. They're going to have to deal with keeping people safe. Young people want this more than anything. So that's going to be the deal with the predators problem. Like, so I really see us getting to a place to where we have something like a digital passport, even though I understand people hear that and they hear social credit score, they hear China, they hear political, the blah, blah, blah. But it's like,
yeah, politically, that'll be a really tough one
from a practical standpoint. Please, I think it'll be less problematic than COPPA was. As far as that part of it, like, to be real with you, like, because then at that point, do we even need COPPA? Like, at that point, do we even need the Safe Tech Act? Do we need COPPA? Do we need any of it at that point? Probably not, because in a sense, if there's real accountability and the anonymity isn't there, the rest of the problems take care of themselves, just like they do in society. Because think about it. The evolution of these platforms is they're becoming part of our society, not separate. So if they become part of our society, you know what happens? Anonymity goes away. At least when it comes to law enforcement, accountability, and not anonymity in terms of everybody knowing who you are, but the system knowing who you are. For sure, undeniably. Yes. And I don't see that being the worst thing in the world if it's the system knows who you are, but you can make your own avatar, not use your real name, I think you still need to be able to do that. But the systems and platforms and law enforcement knowing who you are makes perfect sense when you consider the implications of that, and when you consider the dangers, and when you consider keeping people safe, when you consider the financial ramifications of that. That makes sense. And we are getting to that place. And the only reason I think we haven't gotten there any sooner is because I don't think anybody took the internet seriously up until now. Still thought social media was going to die until they decided that it could be the end of democracy.
Right. Yeah. Like it we're definitely in a crazy place. Like, I think that, like, long term, I think that without question, we will end up, even though the idea makes me like uncomfortable, I think that without question, we'll end up with a digital passport of sorts, some type of identification there. I think eventually we will have that. I think eventually, like, when it comes to systems like YouTube, for example, I think eventually we won't even need to look in our analytics. I think that eventually they'll tell us, and they're already doing it. Like, where they're like, hey, your views are down 25% because your audience, isn't watching this as long as they normally do, or they're not clicking on this when we present.
You think analytics will get simplified? You think they'll get simplified?
I think it'll get to the point to where it'll be a coach, not necessarily like hey, here's all of the different stuff that you can dig into and figure stuff out. I think it'll get to the point of these types of videos do great for your audience. These are the types of problems that you have in your videos that you need to fix. Like, I think it'll end up being just like a.
You think we'll get an AI assistant? How long until we get a YouTube? How long until we get an AI assistant for YouTube and other platforms?
I think that'll be a while, but I think that it's definitely, it just makes sense. Like, like when you're trying to simplify things, the last thing that's simple on YouTube is actually your analytics. So, like, if you're trying to simplify things and you're trying to lower that barrier to entry, like, like Roberto, like when you talk about YouTube analytics with somebody, or you make a video about YouTube analytics, like, tons of people, like, they're just intimidated. Like, they're like, one, I don't even know what to look for. Two, like, like, I open it up and it's just crazy. Like, my brain just isn't used to, doing that type of activity. Therefore, I'm just going to close it down. I'm not even going to use it. So, because of that, if they, end up turning their systems for all of the different platforms into coaches of sorts, then, then it's going to remove that intimidation side of analytics. But most importantly, for the platforms, this will also help them help content creators make content that will
keep people on the platform,
users more, which will then keep people, on their platforms longer, keep them coming back and all of that. So I think it's just a logical progression in terms of just kind of simplifying everything on the back end, and then getting it to the point to where they're just recommending, all types of different suggestions to you based on, the viewers that are interacting with your content and all the data that they have on all of the other channels, on YouTube.
No, I agree with you, and that makes sense. And we've seen some indication that that's the road they're heading with some of the things they've introduced lately. So I agree with you. I mean, showing us things like, oh, other people watching these channels, oh, the new versus returning users. So yeah, they've come a long way on simplifying that, giving us click-through rate. So yeah, I know. I largely
just
agree
in the
with you.
simple dashboard by itself, like just the whole simple dashboard, that whole thing by itself, like just that is a huge advancement, compared to, like 5 years ago, in terms of analytics. So like, the fact that they're already walking down that path. Hey, what's up, Ken? Nice to see you in here, man.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're already walking down that path, I think it's just inevitable. I don't know how long it'll take, but I think that it's inevitable that will end up being the direction of things. Because
I agree with you
on the content creator side, and that transitions people into like, hey, if you want performance, like if you want views, that like you're here making content because you want views. So if you want views, these are the things that you need to do in order to make sure that you're, getting that activity.
No, I agree with you. In fact, in terms of telling people to give us activity, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell all of you to smash the like button right this second for the YouTube algorithm. Go ahead and get this stream up to as quickly as possible, 100 likes, if you don't mind, because that actually helps out at this point. So no, I agree with you. I think that ultimately anything that can reduce friction in your creative process, anything that can reduce friction in the results that you want to get, anything that can accelerate your results is going to be considered favorable and is going to be desirable in terms of the creator experience, and especially if it aids in creators creating better viewer experiences, because largely we're getting to a point to where I feel like a lot of creators just kind of like want to be told, hey, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I told you, like with me with Instagram Reels, for example, take another platform aside from YouTube. Instagram Reels just giving me that absurd amount of views. Like, oh, you're giving me like 50-60% of views compared to the number of followers I have. YouTube never does that. Like, hey, just like I'll feed your Instagram Reels. I'll give you more. You're telling me what to do. I'll give you more. Like, you know, you're incentivizing me. You're showing me that it's working. I have a clear, easy victory. Like you let me put a W on the board. I want more. Give me some more. I'll do it. I'll feed you. So I can see that happening with YouTube and other platforms as well. I really feel like everybody's gonna copy YouTube on the monetization side as an incentive easily. I definitely see that happening. I don't
think
know.
your idea, like you were talking about before, about everything ending up virtually the same. I think that that's definitely going to happen on the monetization side. I think it's going to happen, in terms of the different things that they offer, on the platforms and all of that. I think it's just inevitable because, like if you like to put yourself right in the position, if you had a new tech startup, there was a social media platform and you start out with short form content. Well, it's like, hey, people are digging the short form content. They're loving it. Let's try some podcasts. Okay, people are loving that too. So, so let's make it to where people can upload videos for a long, that are a longer duration and whatever aspect ratio they want. Wow, people are using that. People are loving it. It's bringing more people to the platform. More people are creating on the platform. Hey, let's make VR an option. Oh, hey, now people are digging that too, right? Like it just makes sense to just keep, adding those things if you want to,
it also makes sense to literally
as a
just
media platform in the future.
It also literally just makes sense to take hey, it's working for my competitor. I'm going to take it. I'm like, hey, and they all did it. They all did it. Think about it. LinkedIn, for the longest time, never had videos. Then, LinkedIn video, LinkedIn live streaming. Here it is. LinkedIn has stories. Ubiquity wins when it proves its utility. The same thing with features being added. It's the same reasons features get taken away. Features get taken away when either not enough of a percentage of the user base is even using the thing, or when, okay, most users not using this thing. Also, there's too big of a percentage of the users that are doing this, using it in bad faith, that goes away. You know what's something that was much more useful? And you may or may not agree with this. The user submitted closed captions for accessibility were much more of a useful utility feature, I believe, that had a valid reason to stay than even the public dislike counter. And YouTube took that away. And that's something that actually definitely hurt a lot of people, who actually desperately need that in place.
I used to give money to, because I had the training stuff that I would do in Armenia. And because of that, and because they were accessing my content and all of that, I actually would pay somebody over there to go in and add those community captions to my stuff. Now, like it's not worth giving them back end access and blah blah and all that stuff now. But at that point in time, I was like, yeah, here, just all of the ones that you translate, just shoot it to me and just let me know, and then I'll send you money for it. So like in terms of that being something that added accessibility to the content. Without question, that was a huge thing, and I really also wish that they wouldn't have taken that down.
I absolutely.
Now,
and here's
one of the
thing.
things that they say,
if they had, by the way,
that they depreciate features that people don't really use and all of that. So on that side of things, like logically, it makes sense to me that it would make everything more accessible. But on their end, if people legitimately didn't use it that much, to where maybe it just makes more sense to consume content in your local tongue instead, or your local language, instead of having to watch something that's been translated. Maybe people didn't use it as much as as we think that they did.
Which that one I don't know if I fully I'd have to see data on that, but I agree with you with the logic standpoint. But here's my thing, Nick. If the upheaval and amount of energy that people put into public dislikes had been put into keeping community driven closed captions, that feature would still be here. And that feature actually is useful on a fundamental and helpful on a fundamental level to people who have no other recourse and no other real alternatives. And there's also a lot of creators that need their communities need that, and they can't afford to do it out of pocket on their own, just like we were talking about. that to me is much more damaging than whatever people imagine is damaging about public dislikes. And I just like the same energy does not come for some things as others. And it's very telling who's very loud, because it's like, if you care so much about like people, and a lot of people would bring up, oh, the vulnerability of scams, oh, the tutorial, like there is a much lesser population that's susceptible to that than is susceptible to this. Like, and it's something to where this is not something where individual responsibility would be the answer or the counter. And the community did not put the same energy into advocating and begging YouTube to keep community submitted closed captions as they did for literally the ability to just have public validation around their negativity under very narrow use cases of it actually being useful.
What about the Creator Academy? Like they just appreciated that one, like out of the blue. Like what's going on there? Like that particular one when they took that
was
out,
insane
last week. So if you're
in the dead of night.
Yeah,
in the dead of night,
right? Like in the middle of the night, they just like sneak in and kind of take everything down. So like, if you're watching this or listening to this, the Creator Academy on YouTube has been depreciated. So basically, if anybody has links going to it, those links will redirect to like Google Help pages and things like that. But in terms of like a structured educational resource from YouTube about the platform and, you know, the actions that you should be taking and the things that you should keep in mind and how everything works as a content creator. Now, in order to find that same or similar information, you have to know what to look for, which is a huge problem when it comes to, you know, somebody that's just getting started. So for example, you know, like if you are in YouTube and you are, you know, just uploading content, and let's say you're looking in your analytics, or let's say you're just thinking about your titles. Oh, I wonder, you know, how I can write better titles that people will respond to better. YouTube they used to have a whole section in their Creator Academy about discoverability and search and, you know, writing titles and best practices for titles, those sorts of things. And, you know, because they don't have that anymore, now you either have to run into content like we make, or you have to run across something else if you don't know to actually search for some of those or a lot of the things that were in the Creator Academy. So I think that puts a lot of content creators at a huge disadvantage. In addition to that, this is going to sound a little bit like tinfoil hatty, but in addition to that, I think that it's also possible that this could be a thing to where like, hey, we're at kind of like a tipping point right here. If we can, you know, cap off the people at the knees that need the most help and that aren't the type of people that will hop on Google or that will go hunt for answers for things, let's just cut them off right there. And we're going to start, you know, basically making it not easier, because that's not the case. That's not the right words to say, but basically it will make it to where if you're not somebody that's going to hunt down that information, if you're not somebody that's going to, you know, figure it out, if you're not somebody that's going to go through that, they're hands off. Like, hey, you know, we're not going to lead you through the process. You got to figure it out on your own, which by doing that will change the dynamic of the types of creators that are on the platform as well.
Do you want to know what my
because with that, then they can just, you know, make it and go.
Do you want to know what my conspiracy theory is? My conspiracy theory is legal made them take it down.
Possibly.
Because the only thing and the only time that I could really see them going into under the cover of darkness and literally, and the only reason companies under the cover of darkness go and wipe out entire subdomains, entire websites, scrub 20, 30, and in this case, they scrubbed like over 200 pages from the internet. The only reason that companies typically do that under the cover of darkness is that there's some vulnerability, some language that makes them vulnerable legally to action or a lawsuit or to something where it can be spun into a story where the public perception of that can then be affected, and a negative press would then cause a hit or a stock price or an advertiser boycott or some other social upheaval or other boycotts and everything like that. So I believe that either something on too many pages to account for either made them vulnerable legally or made them vulnerable to cancel culture. That is literally my own conspiracy tinfoil hat of why they went in the cover of darkness. No heads up, no 30-day countdown, no 90-day countdown, no nothing. Usually when YouTube does anything, they say, hey, this is going away at this expiration date. They went in the cover of darkness and nuked the whole damn thing. You don't usually.
With that said, though, they did have, hey, what's up, D? What's up, Doug? With that said, though, like the Creator Academy did have tons of language in there in terms of, this is what, we typically find, and, like making sure that it's not like a guarantee of like certain things and stuff like that. Like they definitely had a lot of that language in there, but yeah, I'm sure somebody, like an attorney could probably go through there and be like, hey, I could get you on this. I could get you on this. I could get you on this, like, so so that's probably, a good way to think about it in terms of it possibly being a thing that was just required for them, on the legal side of things. Yeah. But it's just unfortunate because, now as a new content creator, you have to, find content like ours, or, there's just not a good structure. Like
we don't even cover everything, and like we don't necessarily,
not even close.
Not even close.
We got to make the stuff that gets views too.
Exactly.
Right? So because of that, like, like one video, sure, we can make it and it might get a lot of views, right? In terms of like, how to write a title for YouTube or best practices for titles in YouTube. We'd have to make it more sensational than that. But like a video like that, sure, it would get views. But the downside is those views would only come from people that YouTube is recommending that content to, which are people that are at least somewhat, for some of those people, are already interacting with the content in some way or watching similar content, that type of thing. Yeah. So, because of that, I think it just puts new content creators at a huge disadvantage. But with that said, facts. They were horrible about letting people know that they even had it in the first place. So, yes. Like when you start a new YouTube account, and I told Todd this at Vid Summit, but I told him, I was like, man, you guys need like an onboarding process for content creators because you don't have one. Okay, before you upload a video, you need to watch this video and take a test to make sure that you understand the risk that you're taking when you're uploading content that was made by someone else, when you're using music that was made by somebody else. You got to make sure that you understand that, and you take this test to prove that you understand that, and then we'll let you upload a video, right? In terms of best practices, that's like a whole other thing. But in terms of the onboarding process, okay, these are, things that you need to know so that you don't get your channel deleted, that you don't get your videos taken down, so you don't get copyright strikes. Like these are those things that you need to know. So you got to go through that information. In addition to that, here are educational resources, put together by YouTube. Here are, very specific educational resources on very specific things. Bookmark these, whatever. These are always going to be prominent, when you first log into YouTube or whatever, so you can easily access them. Like right now, before they depreciated the Creator Academy, when you log into YouTube, you have the Creator Insights channel. That's great if you're wanting to stay up to date on like YouTube features and like, oh, hey, they're rolling out this new thing and like that kind of thing. And they do share content there to where they'll talk about, like retention and how to, read your graphs and things like that. So they do have that type of content. But being able to have that content plus being able to have some type of resource to where people can just go into it, find exactly what it is that they need, and more importantly, it's in a structured format to where people can go through it. They check the boxes, they take the quizzes, at the end of each course that they had in the Creator Academy, take the quiz. So I at least have, a decent understanding with this. I passed a 3-question quiz.
And you can verify that you know that you know what you know. Yeah. I don't agree that you have to be like under 18 or a senior citizen. Even if that was the case, there are a lot of people, and you're not accounting for the international community and the fact that things are different outside of America in terms of culture. And so, yeah, having a uniformed academy standard of teaching people or an onboarding, like, I don't think you have to be, I don't think it should be derogatory of like looking at somebody using Creator Academy. We also used to use it as a reference to show people where to get it from the source and what YouTube says is legitimate and whatnot. And they changed things too.
YouTube,
new
like
features.
Initially,
and also they introduced new features. YouTube. So like, yeah, but go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, Roberto.
No, well, I was saying also they introduced new features. So having a consolidated place to walk people through how to use new features and things of the platform makes absolute total sense too. And to have it documented. And again, the website, it's easier to make a website that you can translate the different languages and put into every language than it is to make a YouTube video in every language, just like we were talking about.
Right.
So that's, I think that so many people, especially in our audiences, Nick, I think so many people only look at YouTube from a Western lens.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah.
And one thing really quick, Infinite 8 Legacy says, I don't know, I see the Academy, the Creator Academy for total noobs. Think what age would have to be for a Creator Academy to actually influence your success. So it is for noobs. That's the whole idea, is that it's for people that are just creating YouTube accounts that are, trying to figure it out. But even with that, with the YouTube Creator Academy, like as you got more experience, it helped you also be able to see the information that they're sharing in different ways too. Because, just like with anything, as you learn more, if you go through the information that you learned after you know more, then you're going to see it with a different lens. You're going to be able to interpret, the references in different ways and things like that. And I would even learn stuff, after having, several 100,000 subscribers on my channel. I would go through the YouTube Creator Academy like once every few months and just kind of like, update myself. But the most important part for that was, one, grabbing screenshots for my videos, but two,
Yes.
it was also just being transparent here, but two, it was also so that I could just kind of see the information with the lens that I was looking through at that particular point in time, which also helped me, just unpack more information from it. So it's absolutely something for noobs, but you can also, get information, helpful information from it, when you have experience too. But them taking that away, because it was initially for noobs, I think that it's, I definitely think that's unfortunate. And they do have, they like the Google Help pages, tons of information there.
Small creators are the largest
but you got to
population.
know what to look for, right? You got to know what to look for, and you got to know, what it is that you're trying to uncover in order for that to be, a good resource for that information. Like for us, we can go in like, okay, hey, this is the thing I'm trying to find. We know the language to use to find it. But, for somebody that's just getting started, that doesn't even know what click-through rate is, like, like where do they get started, right? Like now, they don't have that. When I first started my channel, the YouTube Playbook was the YouTube Creator Academy at the time.
Oh my
God! That particular, that YouTube
what
Playbook.
Year did you get
thing,
that? What
takes you through best practices. Just kind of lets you know, some of that, stuff that's important.
What year?
And then when the YouTube
version,
Creator Academy was put out, it was like, hey, this is great. Now we have this, even deeper resource. So it's just unfortunate.
What year version of the Creator Playbook did you get?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. My brain doesn't work in like
you didn't get like the 20,
like when people are like dates and like earlier in our conversation, you're going through like, and in 2011 this happened, and then 2016, my brain's just kind of like that happened, but in terms of like the date, not there.
The stuff like pre 2012, like as far as like the creator book, they scrubbed it from the internet, Nick, because it literally was you can't lose if you
I have it somewhere. I have it somewhere. Like I have it on like an old computer, or, like whatever. Like I've got it somewhere.
Yeah. Like the way they had that before, dude, like if you had that, you couldn't lose. Like, I mean, for real, it was that good. And they scrubbed it from the internet. They scrubbed it from the internet completely. Yeah.
You can probably still find it through the Internet Archive.
No, I've tried. Like they literally, I think there's a reason that they like, because like there was also like a stint where it's like, I mean, there's creators that you and I know that like the platform, it won't publicly take a side, but there's creators you and I know that they'd like be happier if they weren't crushing it. Like, and so I think that in some cases limiting like the amount of information that exists that could be used to exploit the system from their point of view. Speaking of which, I think one of the most important things about having access to the YouTube Creator Academy was knowing YouTube's point of view, knowing how they see these things, knowing how they are viewing and the language that they want to use, that is something that I think about.
Little details, man. Like little details, like Infinite 8 Legacy, in terms of it being for noobs. Little details that even experienced people need sometimes is, like for example, when they're talking about titles, they're talking about, making sure that your keyword is as close to the front of the title as possible, not for the algorithm or not for search or anything like that. It's so that the people that you're trying to reach can help, that keyword is a way for them to identify that, that your content is about a very specific thing.
Here's what it does
cut off on the platform somewhere.
Here's what that
details like that are huge.
Here's what that does do in the algorithm though, Nick. It does help you with your relevancy score when they're able to see that it's having that outcome. Because what people don't understand about the YouTube algorithm is it's a response system, which means that when people respond to certain things, that's what then gives you the, you are relevant for this or that. And over a long enough time, if you are relevant enough and you have enough authority, and this is what happens with big YouTubers when they say, oh, you don't need to do this. Oh, you don't need to do that. It's like they're going from the position of like, YouTube's already verified your authority, dude. That's why you don't have to do that. A rookie has to do everything to get to where you are. They can't do what you're doing today. That's why sometimes, like, and this is no offense to anybody, but sometimes the biggest YouTubers give the worst YouTube advice because they are speaking from the position of, I've already made it, not why I already made it. It's from the position of, well, this is what I do today versus this is what I do when I started, which is not a reasonable thing to do. You can't tell somebody like, this is what I do today, like as a millionaire. Like, no, you need to tell them, well, what
just
you did
make
when
whatever you want and it'll be fine. Make whatever you want. Just do it in your thing, like however you want to do it. And people will love it. Just keep going. Like that's pretty much that
BS
advice that you're talking about.
Oh God, most BS advice ever. Like, oh yeah, we could do a podcast episode about that sometime. But like the thing that hurts me, the thing that like really hurts my soul is that sometimes like people don't understand that sometimes successful people don't know why they're successful, or even if they do, they can't teach you because they are 100% good at what they do and 0% good at teaching. All of their talent points and skill points were made in being the performer, being the talent, not the teacher, not the trainer, maybe not even the business owner. Like most successful YouTubers have to have people around them and systems around them because they are only good at the thing that made them successful with their content. And that's not to be reductive toward them. It's just, I'm telling you, just like a gamer, it's like they spent all their talent points. Like, and that's fine because that's how you become mega successful is you specialize. People who specialize in the most narrowest way possible a lot of times ultimately blow up or get success a lot faster than people that are multifaceted and multivariable. However, people multifaceted and multivariable might have a longer career because they have a lot of adaptability. They will never reach the heights of those other people, but they will survive massive landscape changes more readily. And they'll always have a place versus, oh, you fell off. And the thing is, they can reinvent themselves. They can have second and third wins. They can like, there's all kinds of things when you are because the thing is, everyone says jack of all trades, master of none, when the full quote is jack of all trades, master of none, still better than one. That's the full quote. Well, I'm paraphrasing the full quote, but it's that a master, like jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than a master of one is the full quote, if I'm not mistaken. I like my version better though. Like still better than one. Yeah.
The custom catered, Roberto version of it. Yeah,
because what it's speaking to is that longevity exists in adaptability. Specialization has its place, but too narrow of a specialization is about you literally spending all your talent points and also spending all your velocity as quickly as possible versus a long-tailed growth trajectory. And life is long. So it's basically specializing in that way is like saying, oh, I peaked at 20, I peaked at 30. You know, like you peaked, like if you blow up, as nice as it sounds, imagine peaking and achieving 99% of your success, or like let's leave a little bit, let's leave something. Like imagine, as nice as it sounds, imagine achieving 90% of everything that is possible for you to achieve, and you do it at age 25, and you literally have 70 years left on this earth and only 10% of your potential left. As cool as all the 90% is, like you did it all, you like, it's like, there's almost
that next
nothing.
70 years will be spent talking about that 25th year.
Exactly.
When that happens, that's what goes down.
Everything is about the glory.
Talking about that time.
Everything is about the glory days. It's like the person who's like relives forever their high school football career or their college sports career or that career that they had in their 30s and how they were like crushing it and everything. It's that person who always lives in the past because everything is behind them. And that that's a scary thing to think about. That's a really scary thing to think about, which is why it's not so bad sometimes to grow slow or to be a late bloomer in life. There's it's actually not that bad. It's actually because oh, I only have everything to look forward to. And my accumulative wisdom is still balanced against the fact that I still have more to do and more to enjoy and more to learn and more to gain from. And that I'm not beholden to living in the past. Like, dude, it's like, I'm not that romantic about high school or college or anything in my anything before my life before. Do you realize as far as I'm concerned, my life might as well have started when I was 30 at this point. I'm good. Hey.
I've had a good time. I have no complaints. I've enjoyed myself pretty much from as long as I can remember. So I have no complaints in terms
I'm super nostalgic a little bit, I guess, about life before 15, to be honest with you. Like, life before, like, a lot more of the like financial implications of my parents' divorce is like, okay, I'm slightly romantic about that. But the 15 to 30, not so much. Can do without it. So yeah. But other than that, dude, like, no, I'm like, this has been a great run. Let's keep going. It's like, oh, more to come. Like, oh, it's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. Especially life after 30 for you is like amazing. Like, yeah. It's like life after 9 to 5 job has been the best. So it's like, so yeah, like I just think about that. And like even in a YouTube career, I mean, I've seen people blow up and get to like 1 million in a year or 2 years and everything like that. I've also seen them struggle to get any further than that. Like beyond that, it's like once you hit that, it's like it's really hard sometimes. um so yeah.
There's also bad habits that creep in too.
Oh, facts.
Like, and I think that that's part of, that whole thing is just, you just accumulate a bunch of bad habits, and then those bad habits cause you to kind of just keep leaning on those habits, where those habits, got you to that particular point, but you have to, start creating new habits in order to, continue, moving forward. And I think that, once you get stuck, I think it's just because you are just not willing to, to try new things, to, to get outside of, whatever it is that got you to that point. Just because you enjoyed that particular point. So
Yeah.
so I think that it's just more about the person not expanding than it
I agree.
is than it is anything.
No, I agree. When I talk to our friend Sean Cannell, me and him always keep talking about this phrase called like seasons of life.
Yeah.
And like we keep talking about that. Like one of the things you keep hearing me say is like, all right, a season of hustle versus a lifetime of hardship. That's like one of my quotes, one of my big philosophical quotes. And it's like we talk about that because it's like there's a like ebb and flow to where you have to realize it's like, oh, I'm in a different season of life now. And so now I'm gonna have to completely build new habits and shift gears and everything. I mean, Sean just became a father. Very different season of life than just being a husband. Very different season of life than just dating somebody. Different season of life than just being single. Being a homeowner, you and I just became homeowners. Very different season of life. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
absolutely.
there's you have to, and that happens in your career too. Like that's part of it, is that, oh, I'm in this phase of my career now, or oh, I'm in this part of my career now, or I'm in this part of, like, yeah. And you have to think like that. But I think a lot of people just have this very static view of everything, of, oh, this is the way it is, or oh, this is what made me successful, I do that forever. And then they need to adapt, but they don't pivot. They get stuck in the old habits, and that's where the downfall happens. And they don't shift with the times, and they don't shift with the culture or any of those things. But Nick, it was such a pleasure having you, man. I've got to sign off as well, and thank you to everybody who stuck around in the chat. So what I'm going to do here is, Nick, if you have to
Thanks for letting me come on, Roberto. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Yeah, like super, like that was just completely impromptu. That was great. I'm like on the sofa and you're like, "Hey, come on." I'm like, "All right, yeah, let's throw on a hoodie, grab some coffee real quick and go for it." So thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you always have me on Saturdays. Everybody, make sure you're checking out Nick Nimmin's channel, youtube.com/Nick Nimmin. Also check out, you're still doing coffee with creators, right?
Comments over coffee.
Comments over coffee.
I have a bunch recorded right now. I haven't published any for probably, I would say maybe 2 months, maybe a month, 2 months, something like that. But I've got a bunch recorded to start getting them out consistently in 2022.
Okay, great. Well, we'll look forward to that. Make sure you guys are checking out the back catalog.
Waiting for some things to be created for ad inserts.
Okay, no doubt, no doubt. So guys, make sure you're checking out the back catalog of that. Also, make sure you're checking out the back catalog of the episodes of the Create Something Awesome Today podcast. For making it easier for you all to find on the YouTube channel, I changed the name to the Roberto Blake Podcast just to make it easy to find. Podcast is still Create Something Awesome Today. That is still the brand. That is still the thing. It's also the title of my upcoming book. And the main thing was I just wanted to make it easier for y'all to know this is me. This is the real me. This is my podcast channel. Make it easier for you guys to find and recognize and come back to. And when I promote it, it'll all make sense for you. But it is the Create Something Awesome Today podcast with your host, Roberto Blake. And today I had Nick Nimmin as my special impromptu guest. So guys, make sure you're checking out the replay. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, notifications, all the things. And check out the replay and check out the other episodes. There's some really good stuff here. This is like day 8 out of 8 for me, Nick, of in a row of these episodes. And I'm just going to try and keep going to the end of the year. I'm just going to keep going straight to the end of the year. And we'll see what happens. But anyway, it was a pleasure. Let's go ahead and play the outro.
Thank you for listening to the Create Something Awesome Today podcast. Hungry for more creative and practical ideas? Why not visit createsomethingawesometoday.com and access all resources and links mentioned in today's show, as well as special bonus content that Roberto regularly crafts for you. Now, go create something awesome today. createsomethingawesometoday.com.
Nice.
And then that's edited out for the audio only. So yeah, no, thank you so much, Nick. Great stream. All of you in the chat, thank you so much. Nick, you have a good night.
If I don't talk to you beforehand, also have a happy holiday, because that's happening like next weekend. So,
is
it?
Have
a happy holiday.
Is it next weekend?
Just in case.
Wait, is it next weekend or is it? I thought we still have more time.
No, I think Christmas is next weekend, I believe, isn't it?
Oh, geez, you're right. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, no, happy holidays to you as well, my friend. All right. Catch you later. Take care. Also, everybody, I am ending the show here. We're not going to do like a super long Q&A or like rapid fire anything. We're just like, we're done. It's late. I got to go to bed. I got to wake up early and publish tomorrow's video. So look forward to a video for me tomorrow, super early. Stay awesome, and I'll catch y'all next time.